He was a man out of time, ripped from a world of steel and glass and thrust into one of stone and savagery. Here, humanity was still in its infancy, and the concept of a daily bath was a distant dream. In this primitive society, women coupled only with the strongest men to bear healthy children, and he, through a series of brutal trials, had quickly become king of the tribe. Every woman in the village yearned to bear his child. Time in the village passed in a blur of sun and hunt. One night, under the light of a full moon, he was checking his traps when he noticed something had sprung one. He decided to investigate. There were no sounds of a struggling animal, no thrashing or growling. It wasn't a wild beast. Gripping his sharp axe, he crept closer, and his eyes widened at the sight. The one caught in his trap was none other than his elf friend, suspended in a rather promising position. A sly grin spread across his face. The elf, noticing his stare, grew furious. "Are you just going to stand there gawking me instead of helping me?" she demanded. "It's not every day I get to see something this rare," he replied with a chuckle. "I'm going to kick your ass," she shrieked. He glanced down at her dangling feet. You plan on kicking me with those tiny little feet?" To tease her further, he leaned in and blew gently on the sole of her foot, then began to slowly massage it. The elf's face flushed crimson as she let out a series of strange little gasps. "You better stop playing with fire." Her anger flared again when she heard the sounds of his tribespeople approaching. Seeing her panic, he decided to cut her down before they saw her dangling with her legs spread wide for all to see. But life as a primitive king hadn't always been so easy. Before the women of the tribe were lining up to have his children, the men had been hunting him for sport. To understand how he got here, we have to go back to the beginning. The truth was, he'd woken up in this strange world while splashing water on his face by a stream. One moment he was shopping in a bustling city, and the next, he was here. He was still trying to process it when he heard voices. A group of bizarrely dressed people was heading his way. He figured they were just dedicated cosplayers, and asked for directions out of the wilderness. But his question was answered when a child hurled a sharpened bone. It whizzed past his ear, a hair's breadth from ending his new life before it began. He broke into a dead sprint, the primitive people screaming and chasing after him. As a former track and field athlete, he was confident they'd never catch him. That confidence shattered when another spear sliced a deep gash across his side. Suddenly, a series of notifications, crisp and digital, flashed in his vision. System activated. Survival mission initiated. All he had to do was survive for 12 hours to receive 1 attribute point and a survival starter pack. But his immediate problem was a hulking brute of a man who had him in his sights. The man roared and hurled a massive club with all his might. The protagonist pushed himself to run faster, but it was too late. The club connected with the back of his neck, and his world went black. When he awoke, he was a prisoner in their village. But he had survived, and his reward was waiting. He immediately dumped the attribute point into strength and opened the survival pack. Instantly, a flood of information filled his mind. He now understood all languages, possessed a mental survival guide, and had an active map that tracked his movements. He even gained a legendary weapon, the mountain-splitting axe, along with a wealth of knowledge about the jungle and basic medicine. Looking at the primitives, he could now understand their grunts. A man was boasting about being the fiercest warrior, while a woman declared she wanted to bear his children. Apparently, child support hadn't been invented yet. The protagonist, whose name was Chen, realized this world was like a civilization building game in its earliest stages. He had a golden opportunity to become a president, or maybe even a god. "System," he commanded mentally, "add my attribute point to strength and equip the mountain-splitting axe." A surge of raw power coursed through him. With a simple flex, the ropes binding him snapped like twigs. His sudden freedom was immediately noticed by 2 tribesmen, Stonebone and Langguchi. "Don't let him escape," Stonebone roared to the others. He and Langguchi stepped forward, blocking Chen's path. "There's nowhere to run." With newfound confidence, Chen boomed, "How dare you disrespect your god?" Stonebone glared. "What god are you talking about?" Dan, guessing Langguchi was the leader, pointed a finger at him. "The heavens sent me to rule over you. For your transgressions, you will be punished." This immediately enraged Stonebone, who charged at Chen with a primal roar. Just then, a new mission popped up: quest to subdue the primitives and become their leader. Failure will result in the loss of the mountain-splitting axe. Chen tensed. Without the axe, he wouldn't last a day in this savage land. Refusing to fail, Chen met Stonebone's charge head-on. The impact of their clash cracked the very ground beneath them. Chen was stunned by the raw power of these people, but he knew his own body had been enhanced. He poured every ounce of his new strength into his axe, and to his astonishment, Stonebone's club was cleaved in two. The entire tribe stared in stunned silence. But something felt wrong. Chen had a bad feeling, and he was right. Stonebone, instead of admitting defeat, bellowed an order for everyone to attack. Dumbfounded, Chen turned and fled, wondering why Stonebone had acted like it was a one-on-one duel only to have the whole tribe gang up on a 24-year-old. As a young boy lunged at him, Chen sidestepped and countered in one fluid motion. "Don't push me," he snarled, knowing he was hopelessly outnumbered. "I can take 5 of you down with me before I die. Back off." He knew if they all swarmed him, he'd be dead in seconds. Then, to his utter surprise, the primitives suddenly shrieked in terror and scattered, running away from him. Chen had no idea why. A moment later, his system revealed an auto-accepted side quest. Side quest helped the primitives repel a vicious saber-toothed tiger. Chen stared blankly at the mission text, the words not registering until he realized the saber-toothed tiger was standing right behind him. The moment he saw it, he ran for his life. The tiger pursued relentlessly, swiping with its massive claws. In a full-blown panic, Chen wondered why everything in this world wanted a piece of him. He knew a single bite from that beast could tear him in half. A searing pain shot through his back as its claws raked across his flesh, leaving a deep wound. Realizing a direct fight was suicide, he forced himself to calm down and think. He spotted the smoke from the village campfire and remembered that most animals, including saber-toothed tigers, feared fire. He decided to use that to his advantage. He even roared a challenge at the beast, trying to lure it into a direct charge. As it lunged, Chen tried to slide underneath it, a move straight out of the movies, but to his horror, the tiger used his body as a springboard to launch itself into the air. Shaking with fear, Chen scrambled away, cursing the movies that had lied to him. Out of options, he sprinted for the campfire, using trees and rocks for cover. Weaving and dodging, he finally reached the fire, grabbed a burning branch, and brandished it at the tiger, trying to scare it off. Thankfully, the beast was indeed afraid of the flames. Chen taunted it to come and fight, but inwardly, he was praying for it to retreat. Suddenly, a strange, guttural roar echoed through the forest, far deeper and more powerful than the tiger's. The saber-tooth froze in terror, and then bolted. As Chen watched it flee, he wondered what could possibly scare a predator like that. And if it was running, what should he do? The system chimed, announcing the quest was complete and rewarding him with 2 attribute points. Hearing the strange roar again, Chen decided safety was the better option, and got out of there. He told the system to put 1 point into strength, and 1 into agility. With his enhanced speed, he sprinted back toward the primitive village, feeling noticeably faster and lighter. When he arrived, Stonebone stared at him, dumbfounded. How did the saber-toothed tiger not eat you?" Chen just smirked. "That overgrown kitten. I gave it a beating so bad it ran away with its tail between its legs." He grinned, hoping the primitives would finally see him as a figure to be admired. Just then, he received another mission quest: help the tribe build houses, establish a village, and increase the population to 50 people within 18 days. He counted the group and realized there were only 15 of them, including children. To reach 50, he concluded he'd have to conquer other tribes. That night, everyone else was asleep, but Chen couldn't rest. His stomach was growling with hunger, so he decided to find food on his own. He noted how bold the primitives were, sleeping without a single guard on watch. But his hunger was the priority. He remembered the roasted sheep from earlier but hesitated, feeling a deep sense of unease. If something out there could scare off a saber-toothed tiger, it had to be truly terrifying. Chen tried to reassure himself. He had to find food, and hopefully, he wouldn't run into whatever monster was lurking in the dark. Axe in hand, he headed toward the spot where he'd last seen the sheep. A short while later, he cautiously approached the area, on high alert for any danger. As he got closer, he noticed other prey animals nearby. Now that he was their leader, he knew he couldn't just think of himself, so he gathered the other carcasses as well. But on his way back, a strange feeling washed over him, and he suddenly plummeted into a pit. Furious, he yelled out, cursing whoever had dug a hole in the middle of the path. Then he looked closer and realized it wasn't a hole. It was a footprint, a colossal footprint left by some kind of monster or giant beast. Something almost like a dinosaur. After the saber-toothed tiger, Chen was starting to understand that this place wasn't just primitive, it was an era filled with history's most terrifying and deadly creatures. Knowing he couldn't waste any time, Chen decided he had to find a safe place for his people, and fast. The next morning, the primitives were squabbling over the food he'd brought back. Fed up, Chen roared at them to stop snatching from each other. He realized they had no concept of modesty or resource management. There was so much he needed to teach them. Chen announced that the food would be prioritized for the hunters who had joined him that day. Stonebone pointed out that they usually hunted in turns. Yesterday's group was him, Agyan, and Hemgit. Day, it was Liu Tang, Deja, and Lang Guti's turn. Stonebone added that everyone wanted to go if their king was going. The others agreed, but Chen noticed the young boy, Sam, the one who'd attacked him first, hanging back. Guessing the boy was afraid he still held a grudge, Chen decided to find a way to encourage him. Anyone who wants to come with me can, Chen declared. I'm going to find a place to build our new home. At this, a girl named Mia stepped forward. What's a home? Chen explained. A home is a place where we will all live together as a tribe. A place that, like the roots of a great tree, will nourish and protect our family for generations to come. Mia's eyes lit up. She ran and threw her arms around Chen. Can I live with my king? Chen smiled. Yes. Soon, we will all be one big family living together. Mia was so excited she blurted out, the king wants to live with me, and have babies. Stonebone then asked where this new home would be built. Chen gathered everyone and explained they needed to find a clear piece of land with a mountain to the north, and a river to the south, a place with water for drinking and irrigation, pastures for livestock, and plenty of wood and stone for building. It also needed to be near a forest for hunting and resources. He then decided the settlement should also be near the sea, as a river delta would provide fertile land and, later, a good place to learn Sephirim. Sam spoke up, I know a place just like that. Elated, Chen asked if Sam could lead them there. Sam said it wasn't far but warned them not to go. There's a herd of oxen there, and they're very dangerous. This just confused Chen. Why would they be afraid of oxen? That just meant more meat and resources. He decided the herd would become their prey and told everyone to prepare. They were heading east, toward their future home. The scene shifts to the location Sam led them to. He assured Chen the path was safe, so they could proceed without worry. Chen told them not to waste time, adding they shouldn't fear the saber-toothed tiger. It had been driven off, and if it returned, he would protect them. Sam explained that once they reached the top of the mountain, they would be able to see where the oxen gathered. At the summit, Sam anxiously told everyone to hide. The herd was below. Chen immediately wondered if another monster was nearby. Then, he smelled the sea, and told the system to open the mat. What he saw pleased him. The area looked perfect for building a city. Suddenly, Sam pulled him down and gestured for silence, warning that the oxen might hear them. A moment later, Chen checked his guide and found 3 types of plants and 2 animal species in the area ahead: blue sunflower grass, dragon's brew, and great sabaki, along with gray squirrels and hornets. Since there was no information on the oxen, Chen asked Sam where exactly they were. Sam said they were in a small forest by the river, and offered to lead them closer. Half an hour later, they reached the forest, where Sam warned that one more step could alert the herd. Chen found the silence eerie and couldn't understand why Sam was so worried about a bunch of cows. Then, the result of his skin suddenly changed, and he tensed, thinking giant monsters were nearby. Luckily, it was only one animal in the area. Chen asked Sam if he'd remembered wrong. But before Sam could answer, Chen saw a tree move. Look out, Sam whispered. When Chen did, he froze in shock, wondering what kind of monster he was looking at. The system identified it an iron-plated black-horned ox. Hiding behind cover, Stonebone nervously asked if they were really going to hunt that. Chen, just as tense, said yes and ordered them to set up an ambush while he went to scout it out alone. The others stared at him in awe, thinking he was unbelievably brave. But behind the tree, Chen was on the verge of tears, wondering how things had gotten so out of hand. He couldn't let his tribe die. He would have to trust in his agility. He glanced back and realized even the ox's hooves were bigger than him. He had to find the right moment. Keeping his cool, Chen tried to greet it. But the moment it saw him, its face contorted into a snarl, and it bellowed. The second he stepped closer, the entire herd charged after him. Chen scrambled through the river, screaming at them to stop chasing him. Back with the tribe, they completely misunderstood, believing their king was bravely luring the herd away to protect them. As they whispered among themselves, Chen launched himself off a cliff and landed on a ledge. Suddenly, the cliff face shook, and Chen wondered what had just happened. Looking down, he saw one of the oxen had crashed into the mountain, unable to stop in time. That gave Chen an idea. He realized the oxen couldn't climb, which meant he could take out the whole herd from above. As he looked back, Chen wondered what to do next. He couldn't climb down with the enraged oxen waiting below, so he had no choice but to keep going up. Chen climbed higher, and when he reached the peak, the view took his breath away. It was exactly what he had been looking for. Right then and there, He decided he would build an empire on that ideal land. Later, he felt like his journey had truly begun. On the other side, Sam noticed the herd was retreating and wondered why and where their king had gone. Stonebone guessed Chen might have been trampled, so he climbed a tree to look, planning to at least retrieve Chen's axe. But as soon as he was up the tree, Chen's axe flew past his head and embedded itself in the trunk right next to him. Stonebone froze, and Chen taunted him for daring to assume his king was dead. Dan and the others breathed a collective sigh of relief. Stonebone then asked if the oxen were really that strong. Chen said he planned to use their meat to enhance his own strength and asked if they wanted to try some. Both Stonebone and Sam refused. They said they couldn't beat the oxen, and even if they somehow did, they still wouldn't eat the meat. Chen snapped, asking if they were ignoring him. He just wanted a straight answer. Terrified, they all quickly said yes. They wanted to eat it. Chen told them he would teach them how to make weapons and hunt with them. He planned to return in 3 days and take down the herd. In the next scene, Chen split a tree in half with a single swing. Everyone was stunned by his power, but Stonebone stepped up and asked why he was cutting down a tree that didn't even have fruit. Chen explained they would use it to make weapons, so everyone should watch closely. He then taught them how to fashion the logs into spears. While crafting, Chen noticed he had received a reward for the technology attribute. To demonstrate how the spears worked in a hunt, Chen showed them how to throw one. The tribe was amazed. They had only ever gathered wood before and never imagined it could become something so deadly. Excited, they all said they wanted to try. Chen told Stonebone to go first. While Stonebone practiced, Chen continued making more spears. Within hours, the entire tribe was training with them. As they were practicing, Chen called over Liu Tang and Hu Jiao and told them to attack him together. The two charged at him furiously, but Chen easily dodged both of their attacks. He then countered and took down Hu Jiao. Enraged, Liu Tang attacked again, and this time managed to draw a little blood. Everyone stared in astonishment. Chen told Liu Tang that if a sharpened spearhead had been used, he would be dead. Liu Tang exclaimed that their king was like a god, they could never defeat him. Chen explained that they were relying on raw power instead of skill. The true advantage of the spear was its tip. They needed to use the point precisely against their enemies or prey. He then had them start by practicing their throws, setting up a target for them to aim at from a distance. They all took turns, but no one could hit it. Chen began to think that maybe none of them had any talent, and he had judged them too quickly. Then, suddenly, a spear thudded into the target. Chen blinked in surprise, and the others were just as shocked that someone had actually hit it. He turned and saw Huang Shu standing there. Chen asked if he was the one who threw it, and Huang Shu simply asked if he had won. Chen said yes and gave him 2 spears as a reward. Suddenly, someone ran up, shouting that a beast was approaching. Chen ordered everyone to prepare for battle, but inwardly, he was thrilled. This hunt would give them real-world experience. A beast burst from the forest and roared at them. Chen charged it immediately, yelling that it would be their dinner tonight. As the battle began, Chen told everyone to follow his lead. Surround the beast and wait for my signal. He attacked first, and somehow, the beast's speed began to slow. Chen called for Stonebone and Huang Shu to throw their spears from behind. When they hit their mark, the beast went berserk, flinging Chen backward and breaking his spear. He knew he had to act fast, but before he could, Huang Shu launched a spear that struck the beast right in its mouth. Chen was impressed with his accuracy. Soon, everyone else began throwing spears, while Sam waited above, perched in a tree. Under the rain of spears, the beast tried to flee, but Chen blocked it and yelled for Sam to attack. Sam leaped down onto the beast and plunged his spear into its head. This only sent the beast into a greater rage. The sight made everyone tense. Sam was suddenly in danger, still holding onto the spear he'd just used. Chen sprinted forward and jumped, bringing his axe down with a mighty swing. A loud crash echoed, and the area was engulfed in smoke. Everyone cried out in worry, wondering if their king was still alive. As the smoke cleared, Chen told them to stop screaming, joking that they sounded like they were calling spirits. He then praised their performance and announced they would have a fine meal tonight, which immediately got everyone cheering. Chen gave special praise to Sam for a job well done, then told Huang Shu he was the MVP of the hunt. From now on, Huang Shu would join him on hunts, and Chen would give him new weapons to test. The scene shifts to some time later. Stonebone was bragging to the other tribe members about how he helped Chen take down the beast. When Mia walked by carrying a piece of meat, Stonebone called out and demanded she give it to him. Mia refused, saying the meat was reserved for their king. She presented it to Chen, who asked if they were really going to eat it raw. Mia looked at him and asked what was wrong with that. Chen said he remembered them cooking with fire before, so he didn't understand why they were eating raw meat now. Mia explained they had lost their fire source last time, so they had no choice. That got Chen thinking. Fire marked the beginning of civilization. It drove away beasts, made settlements safer, and improved food. He decided the tribe needed one more gift. He was going to teach these primitives how to create fire. He picked up a broken spear and twirled it against a block of wood to create a spar. He then told them to stuff wood shavings and plant fibers into a groove on a log, then spin the wooden stick between their palms to create friction and start a fire. When the flame appeared, the entire tribe stared in awe and began to praise him. Stonebone started screaming that their king had created fire, making sure everyone heard. Chen immediately grabbed him and hissed at him to be quiet, that it was important to keep this a secret. Soon after, Chen received a reward of 10 technology points and realized they were actually quite easy to earn. At first, he didn't know what they were for, but after checking, he learned that tech points could be used to identify heritage tablets, with each identification costing 10 points. While Chen was still thinking about that, Sam came up and said that while he was dividing the meat, he noticed signs that the wild boar had been nursing. That made him suspect there were piglets nearby. And after searching the area, he had indeed found them. Immediately, Chen received a side quest domesticate the piglets. The system asked if he wanted to accept. Chen sent Mia and Sam to bring back the piglets, warning them to be careful and not to harm the little ones. He wanted all of them to survive. Mia took Sam's hand, and the two ran off. Chen decided to build a pigsty before they returned. So, he called over to Stonebone, telling him he had a job for him after he finished eating. Later that evening, Stonebone was dragging branches, asking his friends why their king wanted so many. When they got back to the cave, he saw everyone making something unfamiliar. Confused, he asked Hengyu what it was. Hengyu said the king called it grass rope, and that it was more durable than the vines they usually used. He also explained how to make it first, smooth out the straw, then braid it into rope by crisscrossing the strands. Stonebone just got more frustrated, because he still had no idea what was going on. Chen told him to stop standing around and bring the branches over. He then had everyone pick up the branches and tie the grass rope in a specific pattern to build at least 5 wooden frames. He told them to place the frames in holes he had dug, then tie the tops together to form a cage-like structure and cover it neatly with straw. The moment it was finished, the entire tribe rushed into the pigsty and began fighting over it, each wanting to live there and have the king's babies. Chen froze at the sight and told them the pigsty wasn't for them. Just then, Sam and Mia returned with the piglets. Chen told Sam to put them inside the sty. Hearing this, Stonebone ran to Chen in tears, screaming that he couldn't do such a thing. He continued to protest, asking how such a fine nest could be wasted on wild boars. The Yan also clung to Chen, agreeing with Stonebone. They all wanted to live in the nest. Stonebone added that they wanted a home where they could cuddle with the king. Chen angrily pushed them away, saying he had no interest in cuddling with a man. He then said he didn't care if they wanted the pigsty now, but once the proper houses were built, none of them would have a place. The Yan went silent, then quickly said that if there was a better nest, he was fine living somewhere else, and Chen could let Stonebone have this one. Stonebone also backed down. Chen ignored their whining and told Sam to put all the pigs in the sty. Huangshu came up and asked why they were raising wild boars if they were food. Chen asked if they would like to have plenty of food without having to hunt. Hengyu eagerly said yes, and Chen explained that if they raised the piglets and bred more, they would have a stable food supply. This completed the animal domestication quest, and Chen received his reward. When he opened it, he found a salt packet in his item chest, and also learned the recipe for stir-fried clams. Chen stared at the reward, wondering if the system wanted him to become a chef. Even though their technology level was primitive, the system suggested that completing recipe quests could unlock special rewards. So, after seeing that, Chen decided to give cooking a try. Late that night, everyone else was asleep. Only Chen and Sam were still awake. Chen praised Sam for working hard every day. Sam said that since he had caused trouble when they first captured him, he felt it was only right to endure more. Chen laughed, hugged him, and assured him he held no grudges. He then asked if there were any other tribes like theirs living nearby. Sam said they had encountered a few, but none were friendly, and they looked quite different from his people. Chen asked him to explain where these tribes were. Sam said he knew of 3 nearby: the Green Coconut Tribe, the Bay Tribe, and the Giant Rock Tribe. All of them were quite far away, at least a day and a night's travel. Chen asked for details on each group. Sam started with the Green Coconut Tribe, about 30 or 40 people. who disliked fighting, were good at long-distance travel, and were led by a powerful woman. Next was the Bay tribe, also 30 or 40 strong, but much more fearsome. According to Sam, they were always fighting. Finally, he described the Giant Rock tribe, the strongest and most populous of the three. They usually lived on a mountain to the southwest, and only came down occasionally. Sam added that he had heard the leader of the Giant Rock tribe had divine powers and could kill a tiger with his bare hands. After hearing all of this, Chen figured that if Sam's information was correct, the Green Coconut tribe would be the best first group to conquer. The others sounded too troublesome and unstable, so he would need a peaceful way to bring them into the fold. Then, feeling someone behind him, Chen turned to find Mia hugging him from the back. She asked why he wasn't sleeping, and if he wanted to do something interesting with her. Thence, Chen firmly said no. Mia sat down in a strange pose, and asked if she looked like a kitten. Chen got even more nervous and quickly grabbed Sam's hand, saying Sam seemed to need help with something. He'd talk to her later, then he dragged Sam away, leaving Mia looking a little hurt. The next morning, Chen and Sam were waiting by the sea for the Bay tribe to appear. Soon enough, the tribe came to the shore to hunt a dodo bird. Chen was glad they finally showed up after a night of waiting. But then he noticed the Bay tribe members started fighting each other over the bird. He wondered if his tribe could conquer them, not just to increase their numbers, but also to secure resources like the dodo birds. Sam pointed out that their tribe had less than half the numbers of the Bay tribe, so they couldn't win a direct fight. Chen figured stronger weapons could change that. But first, they had to deal with the oxen herd. Then, those new resources could help them craft even better weapons and equipment. With that in mind, they headed back to the cave, and everyone was overjoyed the moment Chen returned. Stone Bone said they thought their king had abandoned them. Chen apologized for worrying everyone, and told them they still had much work to do. He ordered Stone Bone to continue practicing his spear throws and put Huang Shu in charge of training the others, giving him one day to make them as proficient as possible. Then, Mia came up holding a leaf, saying it was very comfortable to use after going to the bathroom. Chen replied that he actually needed help sharpening wooden spears, so Mia should gather the women and collect stones. A while later, Mia returned with the other women, each carrying stones. She asked if these rocks would do. Chen said yes, then explained that they needed to grind the stones on a wet rock until they formed an edge or a point. Then, they would tie the sharpened stone to a wooden shaft with rope, and just like that, they had created a stone-tipped weapon. The women were impressed, but Chen was annoyed that the reward for that was only 1 point. He then told them to keep following his instructions, and show him what they had made. Mia quickly called Chen over, saying she had finished one. When he looked, he saw she had made a double-bladed axe, and he praised her for it. Delighted, Mia smiled, and at that moment, Chen unlocked a hidden feature called Talent Discovery. When he checked Mia, the system showed she had a talent for tool crafting. Mia noticed him staring and shyly asked why he was looking at her like that. Chen ignored the question and told the women to make as many spears and axes as possible. Gradually, they produced a total of 30 spears and axes, and Chen praised Mia for making more than half of them. He then noticed her hands were scraped from grinding the stones. When Chen showed concern, Mia blushed. Immediately, the other girls surrounded him, asking if he was concerned about them too. Chen said it wasn't what they thought, but they were getting very close. He hastily fled, announcing that was enough work for the day, and everyone could rest. He then went toward the men's training area to check on their practice. A log suddenly flew toward Chen. He dodged just in time, and realized it was part of the tribe's training. Huang Shu had apparently taught them very well. Chen asked how they were doing, and Huang Shu said everyone had improved a lot. They could now hit the target with ease. Chen's talent discovery revealed Huang Shu was a master thrower. Huang Shu added that Liu Tang was very strong but threw at the wrong times, and was only at his best when paired with Stone Bone. He also noted that Lang Guqi was the first to fully master the technique. What shocked him the most was the synergy between Hengyu and Stone Bone. Alone, they were average, but together, they could alternate 4 spears at a time and achieve the best results. Chen was pleased. At this rate, dealing with the black-horned oxen should be a piece of cake. Stone Bone asked if he was sure. Chen said yes, but to be safe, they would also bring a secret weapon. Hanga blinked in surprise, and asked what secret weapon he was talking about. Chen pulled out some black leaves, telling everyone to look closely, and ordering them to collect as many as they could. He warned them not to touch the leaves with an open wound. The plant carried a natural paralytic agent. That night, Chen began to pound a stone into shape. Mia came over with all the spears, and asked why he was carving a shallow basin into the rock. Chen said it was a mortar and she would soon see why. He told her to gather the women and use a stone pestle to crush the leaves inside, then apply the mixture to the wooden spear heads. Liu Teng came over, saying the men wanted to help with the pestles too. Chen told them to rest. He would need their strength for the hunt. The next morning, Chen sat eating roasted meat and sprinkling salt on it. Mia suddenly threw a spear toward him, letting him know the coating was done. Chen stood up, told the women to stay behind and guard the camp and the children, then ordered the others to follow him up the mountain. The entire tribe was fired up and grabbed their weapons. They were ready to show those beasts what they were made of. A while later, they reached the top of the mountain. Yan asked if it was really okay for their king to be the bait alone. He was clearly worried about the danger. Stone Bone replied that their king was incredibly strong, so he would be fine. Sam interjected and told everyone to get ready. Something was moving near the river. Stone Bone told Mia and the other women to pass out the spears on time, especially to Sam once they were in position on the mountain. Their king was risking his life, and losing him was not an option. So, this is what happened. 10 minutes earlier, Chen had wandered near the black-horned oxen, figuring that fleeing to Stone Mountain, like last time, was still the best route. But to be cautious, he decided to lure a smaller one first. He went up to a small ox and threw a rock at it. Then he loudly declared he was the leader of the pack and challenged it to a fight. The black ox immediately went berserk, and suddenly, 3 oxen were charging after Chen. As he ran, Chen yelled for Stonebone to target the first black ox. Stonebone immediately ordered everyone to get ready. Then, the spears flew out all at once. It worked. The black oxen were hit and wounded. Taking that chance, Sam threw a spear straight at their necks. The oxen crashed into the mountain, and Chen leaped onto a ledge to climb higher, but his hands slipped. At the last second, Stonebone grabbed him and pulled him to safety. Chen ordered everyone to keep attacking, while the oxen were weakened, so the assault continued. Stonebone stepped up and began directing the attacks. Watching him, Chen noticed a real talent for leadership and understood why Stonebone was so good at commanding others. He realized he was worth grooming into a true leader. Stonebone soon came back and reported that the oxen seemed to be calming down. Chen was pleased. The sedative was working faster than expected. Then, Sam yelled that the rest of the herd was also charging toward them. Chen was startled by their speed. However, he told everyone not to panic. This was part of the plan. They just needed to finish off the 3 below and make sure none of them escaped. The black oxen tried to back away, but they moved sluggishly. Realizing the poison had taken effect, Chen told everyone to aim for their legs and stop them from fleeing. Stonebone then ordered everyone to throw, and the 3 oxen finally collapsed to the ground. Chen told them to stop, but Stonebone argued that this was no time to be soft. They had to deal with these 3 before the others arrived. Chen asked how many spears were left. Mia replied that they still had 28. Chen then told Sam to count the incoming herd, and Sam estimated about 20. Chen said that was exactly why he had ordered a halt. They didn't have many spears to waste. Hunjo asked if that meant giving up on all the effort they had put into the 3 black oxen. Chen said no. This was still part of the plan. He never intended for a small team to fight the whole herd head-on. From the beginning, the real target was the leader. Once the alpha fell, the rest would scatter. To lure it out, they needed bait. That was why those black oxen had to stay alive and not be allowed to escape. Chen added that he originally only planned to use 1 ox, but the extra 2 had cost them more spears than expected. Suddenly, Sam yelled that he could see the leader of the black oxen, and it looked like a giant monster. The alpha bellowed, and the whole herd started charging toward the mountain to ram it. At first, Chen and the others wondered, are the oxen crazy? But Chen quickly realized the alpha had no intention of fighting. Then they felt it. The mountain itself was starting to collapse. Chen screamed for everyone to run back and find cover, but Mia didn't make it and fell as the cliffside crumbled. Without hesitation, Chen jumped down after her and called for a Yan to follow. Hu Jiao and Lenguchi also came down to help. Now there was no choice but to fight. Hu Jiao asked a Yan if they should attack the herd, but a Yan told him not to act rashly, and to wait for the leader's command. Dan, meanwhile, was tense. He realized the ox leader had seen through his trap. That level of intelligence frustrated him. Stonebone told the others still on the mountain to go protect their leader, but Chen yelled for them to stop. They needed to stay up and attack with the spears. Then, the real battle began. Chen fought with his axe while the others used their spears and stone axes. By coordinating, they defended and attacked the herd in coordinated waves, wounding many of them. Stonebone seized the moment and urged those above to rain spears down on the herd. A few oxen fell, and suddenly the whole herd stopped as the alpha seemed to say something to them. To Chan's surprise, the herd began to retreat. He wondered if they were ordered to fall back so the alpha could fight alone. Then, rain began to fall, and the alpha ox stepped forward, took a deep breath, and spat fire from its mouth. Chen immediately yelled for everyone to scatter and dodge. The blast was so powerful it blew a hole in the mountain, even opening a path to the top. The whole tribe was horrified. No one could tell if it was a roar or a shockwave, but its impact crushed their spirits for a few seconds. Seeing this, Chen ordered a Yan to take Mia and the others north while he drew the alpha's attention himself. He told Stonebone to wait for his signal and face the alpha ox, declaring he would be its opponent. They clashed head-on with Chen trying to hold it back, but the alpha easily tossed him aside. Chen considered using the path the monster had created, but the alpha chased him and slammed into the mountain, causing a huge explosion. Everyone watching tensed, afraid their leader was dead. Still, they refused to retreat and were determined to fight to the end. Then suddenly, Chen's axe flashed and struck the alpha's head. He was still alive. He had survived by using the hole created in the mountain moments before. Chen even taunted the alpha for sparing him. Inwardly, however, he knew he was badly hurt. When they saw Chen was alive, the tribe breathed a sigh of relief, but Chen yelled for Stonebone to get ready and wait for his command. The fight continued with a Yan and Hujiao trying to distract the alpha so Chen could attack from behind. A Yan bravely jumped in but was caught on the beast's horns and wounded. Chen rushed in and slashed the alpha's face, freeing a Yan. The alpha spat out another stream of fire, but everyone dodged, and Chen responded with a precise strike that opened a wound on the monster's body. Chen immediately yelled for Stonebone and Sam to aim their spears at that wound. They hit their mark, and the alpha staggered before collapsing to the ground. For a moment, everyone wondered if they had won and started to celebrate. But Chen remained uneasy. Even with their leader down, the rest of the herd just stood there, waiting. Then, suddenly, the alpha got back up and charged Chen, spitting a furious stream of fire. Stonebone and Huangshu were stunned at the sight, and Chen was tense. He realized he had let his guard down for one fatal moment. No, the alpha ripped the spears from its body and hurled one straight at Chen. Wounded and too slow to move, Chen thought this might be the end. Then, to his astonishment, Mia threw herself between them, taking the spear for him. Chen was frozen in disbelief. A flash of memories with Mia played through his mind. A torrent of pure, unadulterated rage flooded him. Even as the system warned his body was overloading, Chen ignored it and charged the ox. He swung his axe with everything he had, leaving the alpha from head to tail. This time, the monster was truly split in two by Chen's all-out blow. Consumed by fury, Chen roared at the remaining oxen, challenging any beast that wanted to die to step forward. But as the herd glanced at each other, Chen took one step forward, and they scattered, fleeing in a panic. As they ran, Chen finally relaxed, but his system immediately warned that his life was in danger. A moment later, he coughed up blood and began to pass out, slowly sinking to the ground. Everyone rushed to him, but before he lost consciousness, Chen looked at Mia and told them to get the hemostatic ointment and apply it to her. A few days later, in a pigsty, Chen finally woke up. Opening his eyes, he saw Ayu standing before him. His first question was if this was the pigsty he had built, but Ayu shook her head. After they drove off the herd, they had moved here, and this tent was made for him. She told him to lie still, while she went to tell everyone he was awake. Chen stopped her, asking about Mia and Lang Gucci first. Ayu said they found Lang Gucci barely alive, but he had recovered quickly. Ever since he woke up, he had been standing guard outside Chen's quarters. Mia was more seriously injured, she added. That the king's miracle medicine had saved her. As long as she continued to rest, she would recover. Everyone else was also fine. Relieved, Chen heard Ayu add that over the past 4 days, everyone's condition had stabilized. Chen was startled. What did she mean, 4 days? He checked the system and saw she was right. 4 days had passed, leaving him with only 11 days to complete his mission. Confused, noticed their king often stared into the air, as if in thought. He tried to stand and fill. Ayu urged him to rest, but Chen insisted he was fine and told her to summon Stonebone immediately. She nodded and hurried out of the tent. Left alone, Chen realized that without his combat strength or deterrence, if the others knew the truth, their mission could fall apart instantly. Now that they had moved to a new settlement, they needed defense immediately, and then sturdy wooden walls for real protection. When Stonebone arrived, Chen told him to stand outside, then whispered secret instructions that no one else could hear. Stone Bone left immediately to handle the task, but Chen knew that still wasn't enough. They couldn't repeat their previous mistakes. This time, every detail had to be secured. Next, Chen told Lang Guji he had another mission. Lang Guji asked him to name it, and Chen ordered him to collect the Black Ox King's bones and hide them, keeping the hide as intact as possible. To Lang Guji's surprise, Chen even handed over his own weapon. After they left, Yu again told Chen to rest. He refused, saying he still needed to talk to her. He asked her to come inside so they could speak privately. When she entered, Chen explained he had sent the others away because he had an important task for her. Yu immediately agreed, then started taking off her clothes, thinking he wanted something romantic. Flustered, Chen yelled for her to put them back on. Realizing her mistake, Yu blushed. Chen quickly clarified that he wanted her to put on a show because he planned to send someone to negotiate with the Green Coconut tribe and convince them to submit. Yu tensed, asking if the larger Green Coconut tribe would really agree to join them. Chen said that was exactly why they had to display their strength and force them into immediate submission. He gave 2 reasons for choosing Yu. First, that tribe was ruled by women, so as a woman herself, she could communicate better with them. Second, only she knew his true condition, that his all-out attack had wrecked his body. The ointment had stopped it from getting worse, but he still needed proper treatment. Smiling, Yu asked if they were planning to intimidate the Green Coconut tribe. She said she understood exactly what to do, so Chen should rest and leave it to her. Sometime later, Sam and Yu were on their way to the Green Coconut tribe. Sam warned that even if that tribe hated conflict, now was not the time to provoke them. Yu said she understood, and they continued on. When they finally arrived, Sam pointed to a stream where the Green Coconut girls were bathing. He then identified the tribe's leader, the one they had come to see. But while they were talking, some of the Green Coconut members spotted them. A while later, Yu and Sam were brought before Lisa, the leader of the Green Coconut tribe. The girls reported that they had caught the pair lurking around, claiming to be envoys seeking an audience with their leader. Sam protested that they were not ordinary guests, but ambassadors appointed by their king. Lisa just scoffed at them, saying Yu looked like a slave and the man was carrying scraps of meat barely enough for anyone to eat for a few days. She then ordered Sam to be separated from Yu. Yu retorted that she had expected the Green Coconut Queen to have more foresight. Since she didn't, the mountain of meat they had intended to offer would be given to the Bay tribe instead. Lisa stopped her people and told Yu to continue, then asked if she had really said a mountain of meat. Yu confirmed, explaining that she was talking about the giant black oxen by the northern river. Lisa asked if they wanted to cooperate with the Green Coconut tribe to hunt the herd. Yu laughed and told her not to underestimate them. They had already wiped out the black oxen, and the river area now belonged to them. The Green Coconut women were stunned, whispering that Yu must be lying. The last time, their tribe had been nearly trampled by that same herd. Lisa stood up and asked if Yu understood what happened to people who lied to her. Yu didn't flinch. She said even the biggest ox had fallen before their king. And if Lisa had any doubts, she could come and see for herself. When one of the girls tried to warn Lisa, Yu smirked, joking that if their king wanted, he could flatten the entire Green Coconut tribe. Sam backed her up, saying they didn't come to fight. They brought gifts, and their king's invitation. Why doubt their sincerity? Yu then snapped that if the queen was too afraid to come herself, she could at least send someone to get the meat. Yu's sharp tone made Lisa tense, though she still warned them not to play any tricks. A while later, Yu and Sam returned with Lisa and her group. Sam announced their return, but Stonebone snapped at him not to make a scene and go help build the houses. Hearing this, one of Lisa's girls asked what these houses were. Yu then informed Chen that the Green Coconut tribe had arrived. The moment Lisa saw Chen, she froze, feeling an intense, murderous aura emanating from him, as if she were facing an ancient beast. In reality, Chen had deliberately dressed himself up like a prehistoric monster. He told Yu she had done well, and his heavy presence only made Lisa more uneasy. Then, a sound came from the bushes. It was Mia, Lang Guji, and Ayan hiding there. Chen had ordered all the wounded to stay out of sight, but Ayan admitted he was just curious to see what the Green Coconut Queen looked like. Chen then thanked Lisa and her tribe for agreeing to his request and coming all the way to their territory. A Green Coconut girl immediately demanded to know where the meat was. Chen calmly said it was nearby and they could take as much as they liked. When they got to the site, they were speechless at the sight of a literal mountain of meat. Hu Jiao and Liu Tang were already carving it up. A Green Coconut girl stepped up to take some, but they warned her the meat was tough. She tried to cut it with a wooden stick, and the stick broke under the strain. Liu Tang and Hu Jiao laughed. The girl yelled, asking what was so funny and saying they only caught the herd because it was in disarray. Hu Jiao shot back, asking if she wanted to fight. Just then, Chen's axe slammed into the ground between them, making the green coconut girls jump back. He had thrown it there to break up the argument. Li, clearly shaken, asked what kind of weapon that was. It was much better than their ironwood branches and bone knives. Chen told her to use his Manhwa axe to cut the meat for the green coconut tribe. Hu Jiao complained that the girls had started it, but Chen sternly ordered him to do it. Grumbling, Hu Jiao complied, muttering that the girls were lucky. Chen told Lisa he would make sure she could get the meat without any problems. He always kept his word. It was his principle. Nervous, Lisa asked how he had conquered the herd. Chen replied that whether she learned through mutual trust or personal experience depended on what happened next. He then told Lisa to call it a day, take the meat, and leave. Lisa replied that he seemed very cold. Chen, meanwhile, was tense. His dramatic axe throw had been a little too much, and if it weren't for the bandage covering his goring wound, it might have torn open. And it did. Blood began to seep through, and Chen immediately got worried. Luckily, Ayu distracted Lisa, giving him just enough time to hide the wound. Ayu told Lisa they also had some powerful weapons they could offer the green coconut tribe, but Lisa turned and refused, saying those weapons were not suitable for her people. She told Chen that the green coconut tribe had powerful weapons of their own, ones they hadn't shown him, and hoped they would never need to. Then, Lisa ordered her tribe members to take what they could and head back. Ayu added that if it wasn't enough, they could return, but the sooner, the better since other tribes still needed their share. On their way back, Lisa asked how the investigation went. A couple of other girls appeared to report. Lisa had secretly positioned them nearby to observe everything from hiding. One of them, Ma, said they had seen the men building something called a house, and from inside, they sometimes heard the grunts of pigs, so there might be pigs being raised there. Lisa was stunned, wondering if Chen had really made such a good shelter for pigs. Maya added that what was even more shocking was that Chen's tribe seemed to have mastered the power of the fire god. Lisa flatly said that was impossible. Mia explained that they had seen fire appear out of nowhere, and used it to roast meat. She hesitated before adding more, but Lisa urged her to speak her mind. Mia then said that Chen's tribe only had a little over 10 people, including a few children and elderly. However, she suspected they were deliberately hiding their true numbers. Lisa demanded to know why they didn't search more thoroughly. Maya said that the nearby trees had been cut down, so getting closer would have exposed them. They had no choice but to observe from the forest at a distance. Lisa simply replied, "I see it," then suddenly lashed them with her whip. She warned that if they made excuses again next time, the punishment would be much worse. Mia bowed and thanked Lisa for her mercy. Back at Chen's camp, he was finally relaxing a bit when Ayu came to ask about his condition. Chen admitted the herd had taken a heavy toll on him. He also noticed Ayu had a real gift for speaking. She then asked, half-jokingly, if compared to the green coconut queen, he preferred her. Flustered, Chen quickly told her not to get the wrong idea. He asked Ayu to call the men who were hiding outside so they could help him continue his recovery and said that Lang Gucci would guard the entrance until he was fully healed. Ayu agreed, then added that he looked very cool. That made Chen blush awkwardly. Just then, Sam came in, saying, "Chen is truly amazing." The green coconut tribe had watchers all around our camp just as he predicted. Chen asked about the other task he had given him. Sam said it was done. The green coconut tribe only saw what Chen wanted them to see, and missed everything they weren't allowed to notice. Chen praised his efforts, and Sam's eyes lit up, saying it was nothing. He would go help Stone Bone and the others build the houses. After Sam left, Ayu asked if Chen really thought the green coconut tribe would voluntarily join them. Chen said it was too early to tell. The plan was only half finished. The next time the green coconut tribe came, they could start the second part. Chen then went back to his tent to rest and check his items, seeing that he only had 11 days left, not enough time to fully recover. He asked the system to open his inventory and found only a salt packet and a tube of hemostatic ointment left. The system also showed his axe had been upgraded to the Manhwa axe. Startled, Chen wondered when that had happened. He got even more uneasy when he realized he must have missed it after handing the axe to Lang Gucci that morning. He then checked his spears, and the activation condition on the screen showed it was triggered when he was injured in battle. From the description, using heaven and earth required precise timing, not too early and not too late. He briefly wondered if other weapons also had hidden attributes like his axe, but dismissed the thought. Each weapon probably had different conditions. It was better to leave it to fate. Next, he looked at his remaining items, and saw the hemostatic ointment was only good for one more use, so he decided to save it for a truly critical moment. Otherwise, he would have to depend on his axe to hunt any creatures nearby. He figured the meat the green coconut tribe took would last them 2 days, and with time running out, he had to rely on Sam now. So, he asked Gucky to summon Sam. There was more work to be done. A while later, Sam came in and asked what was wrong. Chen asked if he remembered the black-horned oxen they had driven off, then ordered him to find them within 2 days and report back. Sam left immediately, yelling that he would be back as soon as he found them. Watching him go, Chen thought everyone was working hard, so he decided to prepare gifts for the tribe. While Sam searched for the remaining oxen, Chen worked on those gifts. After 2 days, he checked his screen and saw only 9 days left for the mission. He also earned tech points for making a stone spearhead, a bone whistle, and a cow horn water flask. He planned to give the whistle to Stone Bone so he could command more easily in battle or during hunts. The stone spearheads would make the wooden spears deadlier, improving their chances if the green coconut tribe turned hostile. And finally, the cow horn water flask was for Sam. Then, Ayu came in with good news. The houses were finished. Chen said they should go see them. When he arrived, Stone Bone proudly showed off what they had built. Then, Stone Bone yelled, asking if it was cool. Chen really didn't like it much, but for now, he replied yes. Everyone cheered. Finally, they no longer had to live in cages or keep looking for branches. While the others celebrated, Chen still felt a bit disappointed. Even so, Stone Bone put the straw door in place, completing the construction. The moment it was set, Chen received 10 tech points for house building. Looking around carefully, he realized the tribe had changed so much since he arrived. At first, they were almost like wild beasts, surviving on raw instinct, fur, and water. Now, their behavior had improved, and their intelligence was becoming much more apparent. Chen wondered if all of it came from the system, as if it were accelerating evolution. He told them to let him know as soon as Sam returned, then went back to his tent. Soon, Sam ran in, shouting that he had found them. Chen praised him, then announced they could finally start the second part of the plan. He told everyone to follow him, then pulled Stone Bone aside, saying he needed to talk. A few minutes later, Chen finished explaining the plan and asked if anyone had questions. Stone Bone nervously asked if it would really work, and worried about the risks. Sam told him not to stress. He would handle it. And when the time came, Stone Bone just needed to lead the others. Chen then gave Stone Bone the whistle, saying it would make commanding the group much easier. He also told Sam he had a gift prepared for him and would give it to him after the mission. Sam was thrilled. Finally, Chen smiled and reminded them that once they saw his signal, they had to act immediately. Huan Shu, Sam, Stone Bone, and Liu Tang all went to carry out Chen's orders. Chen could only think that they were severely short on manpower, leaving him no choice but to assign tasks even to the wounded. So, he told Ayu to have Mia and Gucci build a larger bonfire in front of the wooden house, but not to light it yet. Ayu asked if it was for the guests who were about to arrive. Chen said yes while wondering if the bait they had laid 2 days ago would actually work. Some time later, a girl was working when she suddenly spotted a large group from the green coconut tribe approaching their camp. She immediately ran and told Chen they had arrived. In the house, Ayu had been taking care of him, and Chen was enjoying being pampered like this. He even thought that once he subdued the green coconut tribe, he would have both Lisa and Ayu to look after him. The moment he heard the green coconut tribe had arrived, Ayu went out to greet them. She invited Lisa into the palace, saying their king was waiting. The word palace stunned Lisa. How could Chen's people have turned a straw hut into a wooden house so quickly? She kept staring, wondering how his tribe had changed so fast. Then, Lisa smirked and asked if her king was too afraid to come out and meet them. She added that they didn't want to trouble Chen's tribe any further, but this time they would take more meat as compensation. She also said her subordinates wanted to meet their new neighbors, so she had brought them along, hoping they wouldn't scare Chen's people. Ayu laughed and said their king had ordered 40 portions of meat to be prepared in advance, so Lisa was free to take them. Though it didn't look like she had brought 40 people with her. Lisa then asked why Ayu didn't join the green coconut tribe if she cared so much, even offering her a position by her side. Ayu thanked her, but said she had long been conquered by the king's power. She politely refused, then led them to the meat storage, and said that if they couldn't carry it all, they could eat as much as they liked on the spot. She added that if cutting the meat was difficult, they could ask Chen's warriors for help. Lisa told her people to eat and stay calm while she went to see Chen herself. When Lisette entered, Chen greeted her warmly. Seeing him in that sophisticated house made Lisa blush. However, she kept up her attitude and asked if this was really his place, admitting it looked pretty good. Chen noticed her interest in the house and decided to impress her even more. He said this was just a temporary shelter. Once the real palace was built, this one would be for the tribesmen. Lisa was speechless, then asked if he really intended to let his people live in a place like this. Chen said he knew it was crude now, but later he would build them better stone houses. Then, without warning, Lisa suddenly drew her whip and bound Chen with it, leaning in close. Hence, Chen asked what she was doing. Lisa said no one understood men better than her, and she knew many ways to make him voluntarily hand over those strange things. She wondered if that would be enough to make him submit. Chen found it a little too stimulating, but kept a straight face and laughed. Did she really think this could force him? And he wouldn't have a backup plan. Inwardly, however, Chen was panicking. He had no backup plan. Things had spiraled out of his control, and his unhealed wounds made fighting difficult. Luckily, Ayu suddenly entered and announced the feast was ready. But when Ayu saw Chen and Lisa like that, she froze and blurted out that Chen shouldn't be doing such things. Lisa withdrew her whip, and Chen said they had talked enough. It was time to go outside and roast some meat. He asked Ayu if the fire had been lit. Meanwhile, Lisa wondered if Chen's calmness under her pressure meant he really had a hidden plan, or was simply not afraid of death. Compared to her people, his composure felt very different. Outside, the green coconut girls happily called Lisa over, saying the roasted meat smelled wonderful. Chen also gave Ayu some salt to share with the green coconut tribe. Ayu divided it, telling everyone to sprinkle some on their meat to improve the taste. Lisa sharply demanded to know what Ayu was putting in the food. Ayu retorted that if Lisa was afraid, she didn't have to eat. But when Lisa saw her own tribe members praising the taste, she understood. Chen was also pleased, hoping they would keep eating, and buy time for Sam and Stone Bone to finish their work. The scene shifts to Stone Bone and the others waiting near the black-horned oxen. Liu Tang asked why they were hunting oxen again when they already had enough meat. Stone Bone said they weren't here to hunt. He told Liu Tang to stop asking questions and follow orders. Then, Huang Shu's signal came, and they all threw their spears at the black-horned oxen. The herd bolted. Stone Bone yelled to Sam that the herd was heading his way. Sam told them not to worry, and leaped from a tree, plunging his spear into an ox's neck. After hitting it, Sam yelled that he did it. The ox was now his. Wounded, the ox began to thrash and run wildly. Sam forced himself to be brave. He knew he could handle it. From a distance, Huang Shu saw the herd was turning east. Stone Bone signaled to Sam, and Sam realized the direction was wrong. He steered the ox to the right, making it charge west. The scene cuts back to Chen's cave, where the green coconut girls were eating happily and at ease. Chen was waiting for the signal when suddenly a guard from the green coconut tribe sprinted toward the cave. Lisa saw her and demanded to know why she was in such a panic. Through her tears, the girl said a herd of crazed black oxen had stormed their camp, destroying everything, and their guards couldn't stop them. Lisa shot to her feet and ordered everyone back to base, vowing she would make those mad oxen pay. But inwardly, she was shaken. Her tribe had always stayed far away from the black-horned oxen, so what had suddenly caused this? Back at the green coconut camp, the girls couldn't drive off the herd. They fired their slingshots, but the shots barely bothered the beasts. So, they resorted to close combat to save their sisters trapped underneath. But just as one girl leaped down, an ox charged and nearly hit her. Just then, Lisa arrived and lashed her whip at the ox's leg. Seeing her, the others' eyes lit up. Lisa screamed at the crazed beasts, furious that they dared to harm her people. She took down one ox, but it wasn't enough. It got back up and charged straight at Lisa, flinging her into the air and knocking the whip from her hand. Chen appeared just in time to catch her. He asked if she was okay. Lisa, frustrated but steady, said she was fine. She just couldn't understand where the herd had come from. Nearby, Huang Shu, Sam, Liu Tang, and Stone Bone awkwardly hid their faces, since they were the cause. Chen then glared at the herd and roared, asking if they had forgotten the pain after the scar had healed. The herd bellowed and advanced, making Chen tense. Did it not recognize him? Was the cloak made from the Ox King's hide not intimidating enough? Then, thankfully, the ox began to back away. Chen yelled that it seemed the herd had a new king. He told the alpha that it looked weaker than the last one, and since it was here, it could stay. Immediately, Chen's tribe attacked the herd, and Stonebone told Sam to focus on the alpha. With Stonebone's help, Sam jumped on the ox and tried to control it, so he could ride it. Chen noticed Sam had a real talent for riding. As his people were trying to subdue the herd, Chen told Lisa to leave, but she refused, arguing the herd hadn't scattered yet. Chen stopped her from joining the fight, warning that she couldn't handle these monsters. He didn't bring enough men, so charging in would be suicide. Lisa went silent, unable to reply. Chen then asked why she didn't move her people to his place now, where they could recover and wait for the right moment to reclaim their land. He promised them shelter, food, and protection. Ayu also urged Lisa to look at the state of her people. They were in no condition to fight. Did she really want to watch them sacrifice their lives? Finally, Lisa ordered the Green Coconut tribe to help the wounded and retreat north to Chen's place. Hearing this, a girl named Yun grew angry, but she couldn't go against her queen. She told the wounded to follow Chen's people. Chen then put Ayu in charge of escorting the Green Coconut tribe. Ayu agreed, and they left. Meanwhile, Stonebone and the others continued the fight, and Ayun joined in. Stonebone told her to stay back if she was scared since they had beaten the herd once and didn't need to rush. Ayun ignored him and attacked the herd. Chen told Stonebone to leave her alone and focus on winning. He believed those girls were very brave. The scene shifts to evening as everyone returned to Chen's camp. A girl named Maya from Chen's side happily greeted them, saying she was glad everyone had returned safely. She asked about Chen and the others, and Ayu explained they had stayed behind to buy time while the wounded were brought back. Mia said the Green Coconut girls could stay in the houses they had built. She breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that if it weren't for Mia and the others working through their injuries to finish those houses, there would have been nowhere to have put them. Ayu then told Lisa that everyone was settled with food, shelter, and security guaranteed, so she didn't need to worry. She urged Lisa to rest now, and Lisa quietly thanked her. Ayu sighed in relief that everything went smoothly and remembered Chen's words. He had said the whole plan was to control the Green Coconut tribe at the lowest cost because after their last difficult battle, they couldn't afford any more casualties. Now only the final step remained. The scene shifts to the next day when Mia asked Hu Jiao if everything had been smooth overnight. Hu Jiao said yes. He had been on guard all night, and nothing had happened. Ayu was standing guard outside Lisa's house when she suddenly felt a shadow fall over her. She looked up and saw Mia had arrived. Ayu immediately asked what she wanted. Mia said their king had invited Lisa to the palace to discuss an important matter. The scene shifts to Chen checking his system as Lisa came to see him. Lisa said Ayu had told her about merging the tribes and her answer was no. She couldn't agree. Lisa warned Chen not to think he could pressure her just because the Green Coconut tribe was temporarily weakened. Chen replied that he wasn't forcing her. He was offering an exchange. He could teach her how to build houses, make weapons, and create fire. And in return, the Green Coconut tribe would merge with his. He again asked her to accept and come under his protection. Chen stepped closer and said courage wasn't always enough. He reminded her that she knew the brutality of the Bay tribe and the strength of the Giant Rock tribe better than he did. Right now, he said she was like a wounded deer, and soon the bloodthirsty beasts would smell that blood and come to prey on her. Frustrated, Lisa told him to stop. She already knew all of that, but it wasn't that simple. She explained she couldn't force the Green Coconut girls to submit to his rule. Lisa asked again if Chen was really willing to accept that challenge. Chen just smiled and agreed. Outside, Chen addressed the girls of the Green Coconut tribe. Since their queen was injured and couldn't duel, he said that to be fair, he wouldn't fight either. Instead, Chen announced that Stonebone would fight in his place. Stonebone laughed and asked who dared to face him. Ayun immediately stepped up and accepted. Stonebone grinned, warning her not to be beaten by him. Ayun replied that he should be careful of her evil weapon. The duel began, and Ayun threw a bone knife at Stonebone. He laughed at first, but then realized Chen was standing right behind him. If he dodged, Chen would be hit. So, Stonebone raised his axe and blocked the first blade. But a second knife got through and grazed his helmet. He wasn't seriously hurt, but it enraged him. Stonebone charged Ayun with brutal force. Ayun was nearly overwhelmed when a Green Coconut girl suddenly jumped out of the crowd and threw another knife at Stonebone's helmet. At the same time, Ayun tripped him. Stonebone screamed that he had been ambushed, and the duel was no longer fair. As he fell to the ground, Ayun grabbed a knife and charged straight at Chen. Chen didn't even flinch. He had assigned Huangshu to protect him. Hiding on the roof of the palace, Huangshu threw a spear at Ayun to shield Chen. The spear hit its mark and sent Ayun flying. Immediately, the Green Coconut girls rushed toward Ayun, screaming angrily at Chen. They accused him of cheating and luring them into his territory with a plot. Stonebone and Ayun were both tense as the situation escalated. The girls begged Lisa for an order, claiming they could wipe everyone out. Chen was also tense. An assassination was not part of his plan, and he wondered if the Green Coconut Girls were trying to start an all-out war, whether Lisa had ordered it or knew nothing about it. If the Queen had given the order, he might even have to use her as a hostage. But to his surprise, Lisa angrily ordered her people to stop. She screamed, asking if they really thought their petty scheme could fool her. She said she would never allow friends who had helped them to be treated so shamefully. Lisa added that she would not investigate who was involved in the assassination plot, but the duel was still their loss. She then told Chen that Yun was the Green Coconut tribe's bravest, most loyal warrior. If it weren't for her, Yun would never have thrown away her pride for something like this. Lisa said she knew Chen possessed extraordinary, almost magical abilities. So, she asked if he could be merciful and spare Yun. The Green Coconut tribe would be forever grateful. Chen looked grave, but inwardly he was relieved. This wasn't the worst outcome, and control of the situation was back in his hands. Thinking of his hemostatic ointment, he told Lisa not to worry. Yun would not die. After all, they were allies now. One of the girls urged Chen to hurry. Yun was fading fast. As he went to help, Chen decided he would overlook Yun's assassination attempt for the greater good. But her actions still couldn't go unpunished. So, he used just a little of the medicine, enough to keep Yun alive, not fully recover, and save the rest of the ointment for his own wounds. After treating her, he told the others to take her home, and said she would recover in a few days. Seeing this, the girls of the Green Coconut tribe began to praise Chen, believing they had witnessed a miracle. Chen hugged Lisa and asked if her people could merge with his tribe now. Blushing with happiness, she happily said yes. Smiling, Chen told Lisa she could continue to lead her people as long as they followed his commands. Lisa then said she had one final request. Chen needed to become her mate, and they should hold a ceremony to make it official. Hearing this, Chen blushed with joy. For him, it was like a gift from heaven. He imagined a wedding, exchanging rings, a honeymoon suite, a daughter they would raise together, watching her get married, growing old together, and finally entering the afterlife hand in hand. Seeing Chen's strange expressions, Lisa worriedly asked what was wrong. Did he not want the mating ceremony? Chen quickly said he absolutely did and pulled her into a tight hug. He then told Lisa to rest and heal her wounds because he also needed time to prepare for the ceremony. He ordered everyone else to rest as well, telling them to come back in a few days for the ceremony. At the end, the system announced that his tribe had officially been established and asked him to choose a name. Looking closer, Chen saw the tribe's population was only 46 and wondered why it was 4 people short. He named it Novice Village. Afterward, Chen began to think about how to deal with the Bei tribe, even considering taking some of them as prisoners. However, he wasn't sure if prisoners counted toward the tribe's population. Then, he overheard a couple of Green Coconut girls whispering. They said they used to like Chen's smile, but now he would end up just like the men who had become the queen's mates before. Back to pieces during the ceremony, then eaten. Chen froze. The queen eats men. He wondered if that explained why the Green Coconut tribe had so few males. Then, someone suddenly came up behind him, making him scream and beg them not to hurt him. Mia revealed herself and asked why he was so scared. Still startled, Chen asked what she wanted. Mia asked if he was really going to become the mate of that rude woman Lisa. Chen admitted he might have to reconsider since agreeing to the ceremony had been too hasty. Mia asked if he meant it. Chen said he thought he was getting a bride, but Lisa turned out to be more like a praying mantis. Mia started celebrating until Au interrupted and asked why she was sneaking around when she was supposed to be resting. Blushing, Mia said she wanted to be with Chen. He sadly replied that he needed to be alone and suggested the Green Coconut girls help with camp construction if they wanted. Au agreed and started to lead Mia back. Still, Mia told Chen to think carefully and choose her instead of Lisa. Chen then decided to go talk to Lisa about all of this. The next day, Chen woke up to find everyone getting along surprisingly well, and even the Green Coconut tribe was helping build houses. He walked toward the farming area where the Green Coconut group's temporary camp was set up. When he arrived, Yun greeted him and asked if he had come to see the queen. "Sab," she said. "Lisa is near the river." Yun then informed Lisa that the king had arrived, and Lisa told the others to leave. When they were alone, Lisa asked if something urgent had happened. Chen said no. He had just come to check how her wounds were healing. Lisa replied she would be fully recovered in 2 or 3 more days. Then, Lisa asked if Chen wanted to start their romance early. Thence, Chen said no, then asked her name. Lisa told him he could call her Lisa. It was the name the previous queen had given her, but no one had used it since she was exiled. Hearing this, Chen got even more uneasy. thinking it was either follow or be exiled, and she might as well change the tribe's name to the Praying Mantis tribe. Chen asked if the previous queen had mates, and where they had ended up. Lisa replied that they had all been eaten. In her tribe, queens traditionally ate their mates to gain more power. Chen got even more worried, but relaxed a little when Lisa said that was the old queen's custom, and she had no intention of keeping it. Chen felt somewhat relieved and asked if she had ever eaten anyone. Lisa said she had only recently become queen, and had never had a mate, so she never had the chance. Chen then said goodbye, and left to prepare for the ceremony. On his way back, he thought that if there was no risk of being eaten, maybe he should talk to Mia. Suddenly, Lisa added that although she didn't eat people, if someone wronged her later, she wouldn't hesitate to punish them severely. Sometime later, Chen walked through their living quarters, watching everyone at war. He then realized he only had 7 days left to complete the mission, so he decided to take prisoners first and secure it. Chen told Stonebone he would be away for a while. In his absence, Stonebone would organize everyone's work, and if anything urgent happened, to send someone to find him at the southern beach. The scene then shifts to the South Sea beach, where Chen saw a shocking sight and wondered what had happened. Had the Bay tribe been wiped out? Dodo birds walked freely among the corpses, so Chen realized the area was safer now. He checked the bodies of the Bay tribe and noticed they still had some elasticity and didn't smell of rot. The battle that killed them had ended not long ago. Chen also saw that their fingernails were unusually sharp, and the wounds matched those claws. He began to wonder if the water maniacs had turned on each other. That made finding any survivors even more urgent. There, he found a corpse with no external injuries, but its face was contorted in agony, as if it had died a painful death. While Chen was trying to figure out what had happened, Sam suddenly appeared out of nowhere, yelling that a group of Bay tribe members was causing trouble at their place. Hearing this, Chen immediately ran back to the base. The scene shifts to the base, where Stonebone was telling everyone to stay close, conserve their strength, and get ready for close combat. They threw wooden spears, but the Bay tribe maniacs shrugged them off without a scratch. As the maniacs closed in, Stonebone told everyone to stay calm and fight however they could. Just don't let anyone get dragged into the water. Once that happened, they wouldn't stand a chance. The maniacs charged them, but a volley of rocks broke their assault. Just then, Queen Lisa's reinforcements arrived. Lisa asked Stonebone what was going on. Were these enemies from the Bay tribe? And why had people from the southern edge suddenly shown up at their base? Stonebone said he had no idea. The maniacs had suddenly come out of the South River and attacked the base like lunatics. Then, the two sides clashed in a brutal fight. Lisa personally joined the battle alongside Novice Village. She tried to speak to the Bay tribe warriors, but got no response, making her realize something was very wrong with them. While Lisa was engaged with an attacker, a larger maniac tried to ambush her. Chen stepped in with full force, swinging hard at the thud, but the maniac blocked the blow with ease, shocking him. Two Bay tribe members then tried to jump Shen, but Huang Shu and Lane Gucci intervened, knocking them down. If the Bay tribe wanted their king, they warned they would have to get through them first. Chen praised Huang Shu and Lane Gucci and told them to handle those smaller thugs. He also asked Lisa to help his people deal with them since he needed his full attention on the monster in front of him. Lisa agreed and charged in. Chen told everyone he was relying on them until his own battle was decided. He told the large maniac he didn't know what had happened to the Bay tribe, but Novice Village had nothing to do with it. They were probably attacking the wrong target. The thug ignored him and attacked. Chen tensed and yelled, asking if it had lost its ability to speak. He was also stunned by the maniac's explosive power and wondered how, even with his superhuman strength and speed, he was supposed to handle this. Against these maniacs, he felt like a glass cannon. And with his people around, he couldn't risk using his axe's hidden skill. Lost in thought, Chen missed the maniac's attack, and it bit down on his arm. Luckily, he managed to pull back as the Ox King cloak took the bite. Without that protection, his left arm could have been torn off. The maniac grew even more enraged and attacked Chen again at full speed. Chen dodged just in time, and the thug tore his cloak. Chen's blood ran cold. How was it so fast? If he hadn't gotten out of the cloak, he would have been dead. Then, he noticed the maniac had suddenly stopped attacking and wondered why it was just standing there. A moment later, it backed away. Chen felt something was strange. The large maniac had only torn the part of the cloak that had his blood on it. He also noticed that Yun was the only one being swarmed by a large number of Bay tribe members. That's when Chen realized the Bay tribe was tracking targets by the smell of blood. In their twisted state, they were operating purely on instinct, and Chen immediately thought of using that against them. Just then, Sam returned and asked what Chen needed. Chen ordered him to take 2 people and bring 3 piglets from the pigsty. Sam looked at him, confused, reminding him those pigs were being saved for later. Chen snapped at Sam to just do it, silently fuming that the Bei tribe was forcing him to sacrifice 3 precious pigs, a debt he would repay later. He then told Lisa to pull all the wounded out of the fight. Soon, Sam returned with the piglets. Chen told him to release them toward the river. As soon as they were let go, the terrified piglets scrambled into the water for safety, but Huangqi was waiting with a spear and stabbed them. The moment they were wounded, all the Bei tribe maniacs turned toward them and began to tear them apart. While the maniacs were devouring the piglets, Chen ordered everyone to apply the paralytic agent to their spearheads and avoid vital spots. Then, to his surprise, Hangu said the Bei tribe maniacs were acting strange again. When Chen looked over, he was stunned to see the maniacs convulsing bizarrely before slowly collapsing to the ground. Chen angrily demanded to know if Sam had poisoned the piglets, but Sam denied it. That only made Chen more wary, and he ordered everyone to keep their distance and stay on guard. He couldn't understand what was happening to the Bei tribe or why this was happening. Some time later, the scene shifts to the farming area where every Bei tribe member had been locked in cages. Yun told everyone to stay alert in case any of them moved. When the Bei tribe prisoners woke up, they immediately started begging for help. Yun sent a girl to inform King Chen. A while later, Chen arrived and asked what was going on. He saw every Bei tribe member was desperately begging for water. Chen first asked Yun where Hector, the Bei tribe leader, was. She said Hector had been isolated from the others. When Chen got to Hector's cage, he was also begging for water. So, Chen splashed some from his flask at him. He then asked Hector if he could understand him, and Hector replied yes. Chen then handed the interrogation over to Abe. Abe gave Hector water and told him to drink as much as he wanted. Hector said his people needed water too, and asked Chen to share it with them. Abe assured him everyone would get some, then asked if he was ready to answer a few questions. Hector tensed and demanded to know why their tribe was being attacked for no reason. He added that he had heard the giant rock tribe was strange, but never imagined they would be this bizarre. Ayu asked if he was claiming the giant rock tribe had attacked them. Hector looked shocked and said no one had ever told him Chen's tribe wasn't the giant rock tribe. Ayu explained they were novice village, and Chen was their king. Hector said he had never heard of any novice village, so the giant rock tribe must have driven them far away. Ayu said he was mistaken again. Hector had been captured because he attacked their land, and novice village had never had any dealings with the giant rock tribe. It was the Bei tribe who had charged in like wild beasts. Hector refused to believe it, saying he didn't remember anything Ayu was describing. So, Ayu asked him to tell them whatever he did remember. Hector said his tribe had been living around the Southfish, killing time with their usual brawls and games. Then suddenly, one of the children ran up to him, crying that someone had taken his dodo bird. Hector told the child to be brave and fight for his things, thinking Lin and the others had stolen it, but the child said no, it was taken by those strange people. When Hector looked over, he saw men from the giant rock tribe. Here he is. He demanded to know why they were in his territory. The giant rock leader didn't answer. He simply ordered his men to attack the Bei tribe. Hector was stunned by the surprise ambush and couldn't understand why it was happening. He said he was knocked unconscious during the battle, and when he woke up, he was locked in a cage by Novice village. Chen then told Hector he had been to their village earlier, and there were no survivors. If they hadn't spared the remaining Bei tribe members, the tribe would have been wiped out. Hearing this, Hector broke down, overwhelmed by the grief of not being able to save his people. Suddenly, something fell from Hector's body. Ayu picked it up and told Chen to look. When Chen checked the leaf through his system, he identified it as industrial hemp, an herb known to relieve pain and cause hallucinations when smoked. The discovery put Chen on high alert, and he wondered if the giant rock tribe was behind this. Later, everyone was busy giving the Bei tribe prisoners water. Meanwhile, Chen collected the leaves from every Bei tribe member and noticed the same strange clues on all of them. He remembered Sam once said the giant rock tribe leader had obtained some kind of divine power. Now, it seemed more like something evil than divine. Chen guessed the industrial hemp had likely caused the Bei tribe to attack each other. He also suspected the giant rock tribe had orchestrated this because the Bei tribe's mad rush into Novice village territory couldn't have been a coincidence. If the giant rock tribe had deliberately sent the Bei tribe here to cause chaos and die, then Novice village had been noticed and marked as a threat. Even Hector, with all his raw power, had been turned into someone else's puppet, proving the giant rock tribe was no small danger. Chen checked his stats and saw that 3 points in strength might not be enough. He needed to level up before the real threat arrived. Ayu came over and warned that Hector was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and if that happened, they might not get any more answers. Shin said they didn't have time to wait for Hector to recover. Danger could strike at any moment. Ayu asked if he meant the giant rock tribe was planning to attack their base. Shin said it was difficult to explain, but he believed the giant rock tribe had used the industrial hemp leaves to control the Bay tribe. He stressed that no one knew what would happen next, so they had to quickly jog Hector's memory and get more information. Shin told Stonebone not to blame himself. Once someone inhaled the poisonous smoke from the industrial hemp leaves, strength alone was useless. Shin then held up the leaf and asked Hector to look at it. The moment Hector saw it, he said the smell was familiar. He vaguely remembered smelling it while fighting those bastards, but at the time it was buried under all sorts of other scents. He only knew it was pungent and disgusting. That tensed Shin. He asked if the giant rock tribe could be using multiple types of poisonous plants. He figured they had to find out what each herb did before they could plan a counterattack. Hector asked if Kane Chen intended to go after the giant rock tribe, adding that the Bay tribe wanted in too. If he couldn't avenge his people, he said he would regret it for the rest of his life. The other Bay tribe survivors yelled that they also wanted revenge and were willing to do anything to get it. Shen thought that while he still needed more people for the main quest, they were only 4 short. His thoughts were interrupted when Hector pointed out that their noses were extremely sensitive. They could identify and track those poisonous herbs, which would help Chen a lot. Shen said that was exactly what worried him. Their keen sense of smell could track the herbs, yes, but their sensitivity to blood meant that if the Bay tribe lost control again, the result would be a disaster. Hector yelled that without that poisonous smoke, they could easily control themselves. Shen nodded that the real enemy was the giant rock tribe, then asked what they would do if that smoke was released again during battle. Hector sadly replied that if it came to that, they would refuse to fight. Shen said he understood their desire for revenge, but anger and hatred alone wouldn't solve anything. He also warned that Ter might not support any of Hector's plans. Hector replied that they were the last of the Bay tribe. If Chen could help them avenge their people, then their lives were his. Chen told Hector that if he joined the tribe and swore allegiance to Novice Village, then Chen would ensure their revenge. However, he made one thing clear. Not every Bay tribe member would be directly involved. Chen then asked Hector again what he thought of the deal. Hector and the rest of the Bay tribe immediately yelled that they accepted. As Chen turned to leave, Hector called after him. Chen understood immediately and told Ayu and Ayun to release the Bay tribe from their cages. They were allies now. The moment he did, the system announced the tribe mission was complete. Chen received 3 attribute points, a large material chest, and a heritage tablet since he had completed it within 7 days. He also got a surprise gift pack. Chen finally relaxed. The mission was done, and he decided to put all 3 attribute points into strength. The moment the points were allocated, a huge wave of power surged through him. He could feel the energy flowing into his body. When it settled, he noticed his hair had grown longer and wondered if it was a side effect of the enhancement. Shin then moved on to check his rewards. In the large material chest, he found a ton of iron ore. That got him excited. It meant he could skip the Bronze Age and go straight to the Iron Age. Next, Shen opened the surprise gift pack, hoping for something good. He was thrilled to find 3 vials of hemostatic ointment. Compared to last time, this reward was much better. Then, Shen told the system to bring out the heritage tablet. On it, he saw he had received a civilization item. Though unlocking it would cost 10 tech points, he didn't hesitate and used the points to identify it. The identification finished, and Chen received a tablet called Sense of Shame. He immediately realized it could be a major step for their civilization's development. He was especially happy because it meant he no longer had to worry about men and women bathing together. He certainly didn't want anyone seeing Lissa bathing. After he was done, Shen returned to the bigger problem, how to deal with the giant rock tribe. Just then, Ayu came over. She was stunned by Chen's new body, taller, brighter, more muscular. Chen brushed it off and asked what she needed. In response, Ayu asked if he wanted her to negotiate with the giant rock tribe and clear up any misunderstandings. Chen said there were no misunderstandings. The giant rock tribe had already decided to destroy them. He called them the toughest enemy Novice Village had ever faced, the kind that could turn others against each other and profit from the chaos. Ayu worriedly asked what their tribe should do now. Unable to hide his fear, Shen said their best move now was to strengthen their defenses, stockpile food, and avoid provoking the giant rock tribe until they were fully prepared. In short, they had to hide their strength and bide their time. Ayu then asked how they should organize the 22 new people. Chen told her to divide the Bay tribe people into 3 teams. One to build houses, one to gather food, and one to make traps. At the mention of traps, Ayu looked confused and asked what they were for. Chen simply explained that traps would help protect their territory. He added that they could capture enemies or wild beasts alive, giving the tribe a stronger defense system. He then told Ayu he had another urgent job for her. With so many new mouths to feed, they had to start thinking about long-term food supplies, and they couldn't keep wasting leftover meat. So, he decided everyone should learn how to make jerky first. When Stonebone arrived and stared at Chen's larger physique in surprise, Chen told him to ignore it and focus on the task at hand. He ordered Stonebone to start setting traps all over the nearby mountains, and as densely as possible. Chen said he had chosen helpers for him and would personally teach the first trap, but he stressed that the real key wasn't just learning how to build them. It was memorizing the location of every single trap. Hearing this, Stonebone tensed and admitted the job didn't sound very fun. Chen lightly tapped his helmet and said that trusting him to remember every trap location showed how important he was. This had to be kept top secret. Only Chen and Stonebone would know everything, and no third person was to be involved. He told Stonebone to rotate workers through different areas, so no one would know all the trap locations in any one area. If there was even one traitor among them, the consequences would be a disaster. Once the traps were set, Chen said Stonebone had to report every location back to him. He even erased the sketches he had used for explanation, warning Stonebone not to draw anything. Every trap location had to be memorized in his head. Stonebone admitted it sounded difficult but promised not to fail Chen's trust. Chen praised him, then told him to rest. They would start the work after dark. Chen placed the sense of shame tablet outside his house so everyone passing by could see it and absorb its meaning. He then told Lane Gucci he was going to sleep for a bit. Stonebone and the others would come for him at night. If anything urgent happened before then, Lane Gucci was to waken immediately. In the house, Chen lay on his bed, wondering how much time they really had. There was still so much to do. Training soldiers into different units, building defenses, organizing patrols, unlocking new technology, expanding their territory. For Chen, the work felt endless. Still, he decided to enjoy this rare chance to rest, and soon fell asleep. When Chen woke up, he was in a bar surrounded by beautiful girls drinking wine. Chen asked them to introduce themselves. They said they were Xiao Yu, Lilith, and that Dan. Delighted, Chen said he had clearly had too much to drink. But he was glad to be back, no longer stuck in the stressful survival days of the wild. He enjoyed their company, and a while later, Xiao Yu won Max to him, telling him it was time to get up for work. Chen groaned that he really couldn't anymore. Xiao Yu then said she wasn't Xiao Yu. He guessed a few other names, but all were wrong. Finally, she announced she was Stonebone. Chen jolted awake in horror and screamed. It was all a dream. Curious, he demanded to know why Stonebone was in his room. Stonebone said Chen had told him to come at night, but when he arrived, Chen had grabbed him and started flirting. Chen was completely speechless. Lang Gucci then interjected, saying it was all a misunderstanding and they needed to get to work. Sometime later, the scene shifts to Chen teaching everyone how to build traps, starting with a spike pit as an example. He explained that the enemies and beasts they faced were large, so the traps had to be deep and wide enough to be effective. Chen then showed them how to properly camouflage the pits with leaves. He reminded them that the spike pits could be combined with the snare traps he had taught before, and that combining trap types was important. He added that Huangshu could also teach other trap designs. Huangshu looked confused and said he didn't know any traps. Chen asked if he remembered the moving target from spear practice. Replace the log with a net, and add a trigger mechanism, and it could become a trap. Chen then left the work to Stonebone and the others and quietly went back, hoping to resume the dream he had just lost. Back in the territory, Chen was surprised to find the place empty. At this hour, someone was usually up and working. He went to check the houses, but when he tried to enter the girl's house, the women inside immediately yelled for whoever was there to stay out. When Chen asked what had happened, their voices turned serious. Some were only half-dressed, so none of them wanted to come out. That made Chen suspect the sense of shame tablet was affecting them. He closed the door and told them they had half a day to make new clothes. If they still hadn't come out by noon, he warned he would enforce the rules without mercy. Standing near the tablet, Chen was amazed at its powerful effect. Then, Stonebone ran up, shouting his name. When Chen turned, Stonebone excitedly said they had discovered something while digging a trap. Chen's eyes lit up immediately. What Stonebone had found was flint. A wonderful discovery. He explained that flint opened up a world of possibilities, especially since striking it hard could create sparks. Chen and Stonebone hurried back to where it had been found. When they arrived, Stonebone pointed to the spot and said they had been digging around that stone. After one look, Chen realized there wasn't much flint here. Since this wasn't a dry, salty wasteland, if the flint formed naturally, there was only one possible explanation. He told Stonebone to examine the soil more closely. Stonebone agreed, saying that patch of land was softer than the rest, and there seemed to be things buried inside that weren't like normal rocks. When Stonebone tasted it, he immediately panicked. It was feces, and he felt sick after putting it in his mouth. Tahan, meanwhile, had guessed there was probably a large latrine pit underneath. He was confused. Had another primitive tribe once lived here, and reached a stage where they used something like a toilet, or was this the old lair of the giant rock tribe? Chen told Stonebone to collect the flint, then bury everything back and leave no trace. He also ordered more traps to be set nearby, signal towers built on high ground, and guards posted in shifts. Stonebone just stared, then blurted out in confusion. Towers, signals. What was Chen talking about? The scene shifts to 4 days later. Chen strolled through the territory, looking over the many new houses. For him, this was the first real step toward happiness. Suddenly, Mia sprinted toward him and nearly scared him to death. He quickly called for Languchi to help stop her, but it was too late. Mia crashed into Chen in a full-body hug and accidentally knocked down a house. Languchi worriedly asked if Chen was okay and told Mia to get off him immediately. Seeing Chen was hurt, Mia hugged him tighter, begging him not to die. They had just finished the houses and couldn't lose him now. Chen groaned that the joke was over, then asked if Mia had said the houses were finished. She nodded, and proudly reported 2 rows of houses, 10 in total, enough to comfortably house 50 people. Pleased, Chen patted her head and praised her work. He then told Mia not to act so recklessly again and punished her by making her fix the broken house. Afterward, he went to check on their food supply. When he reached the river, Chen saw the Bay tribe happily catching fish while Ayu and a few girls helped dry them. Chen remarked that compared to building houses or digging traps, the Bay tribe was much better suited for going down to the river and fishing. With their help, Novice Village clearly had more food and variety. Languchi praised Chen for what they had achieved, saying it had brought them such a prosperous life. Chen said maybe, but he still wondered if the way he subdued the green coconut tribe was really right and what tricks he could use next time. Languchi told him not to question himself. Chen's orders were their will, and in his eyes, there was nothing wrong with what they had done. In this world, he said, only the strong survive. Large and small tribes destroyed each other every day, so winning with the fewest losses was a kindness to them and to the green coconut tribe. Chen smiled and said that Languchi had the most important qualities needed for the road ahead. He then asked him to go check on the border defense system, believing the Bay tribe might still have more surprises, like that mysterious frogman force. The scene shifts to Stonebone and the others working on the traps and towers. When Chen arrived, he asked Stonebone how the traps and signal towers were laid out. Stonebone said that according to Chen's orders, the western, southern, and northern signal towers were all finished, but after assigning 6 people to guard the towers and shifts, they were left with very few workers. Stonebone explained that to finish on schedule, they had to leave early and work on the mountains before it got dark. Chen understood the manpower shortage and decided that starting today, he and Languchi would go up the mountains to help. Stonebone protested that they could manage, but Chen cut him off. This was a critical time, so every second counted. He kept wondering if the giant rock triad had ever lived nearby. If so, they might know this terrain better than his people. And if they attacked while his tribe was still unprepared, the next surprise attack could be even bigger. That night, while everyone was working, and Chen was working with them, he suddenly glanced toward the western signal tower and felt a bad premonition. He wondered if it was just his imagination. Then, screams suddenly erupted from the southern signal tower. Startled, Chen whipped around and looked in that direction, where he saw the signal for help. Chen yelled for everyone to move. The southern signal tower was under attack. Chen sprinted south, his thoughts racing. Even knowing every trap location, and with his agility boosted by 2 points, it would still take at least 5 minutes to reach the southern mountain. He could only pray nothing happened in those 5 minutes. At the southern tower, Huangshu was on patrol when he noticed the traps near the tribe had been triggered. He couldn't understand how the enemy had snuck in so deep. He also figured another group might have seen the signal fire and was approaching under the cover of chaos. Deciding it was best to strike first, he went to find the intruder. Huangshu charged toward the sound and thrust his spear, but his opponent was strong, knocking the spear aside and forcing him to dodge. To his astonishment, the figure immediately attacked, giving Huang Shu almost no time to react and putting him on high alert. Luckily, the attacker stopped and revealed himself to be Chen. Stunned, Huang Shu asked why he was in the cell. Chen said there was no time to explain and asked if Huang Shu knew where the traps had been triggered. Huang Shu said yes and pointed to the spot, adding that he was the one who had lit the signal fire. Chen told him to wait for the others to take a safe route, then lead them there after him. When Chen reached the triggered traps, he didn't sense anyone else around. The silence was wrong. It clearly wasn't a wild beast they had caught. And since the trapped person wasn't calling for help, Chen wondered if they were alone or had been knocked unconscious. When he looked into the trap, he was stunned to find Lisa. He demanded to know what she was doing here when she was supposed to be recovering from her injuries. Lisa snapped, asking why he was standing there interrogating her instead of helping. Chen just grinned and teased her by tickling her foot until Lisa, enraged, told him to get her out. Just then, they heard Huang Shu and the others approaching. Lisa hissed at Chen that if anyone saw her like this, he had better make sure they kept quiet. Chen tensed and told her to wait while he dealt with them. He yelled for everyone to stop and not to come any closer. It was dangerous, and they could die if they got closer. Stonebone looked confused and wondered if Chen had fallen into an ambush. Should they charge in and save him? Huang Shu said, probably not. From Chen's tone, he didn't sound like he was in trouble, more like he didn't want them to see something. Stonebone muttered that Chen had seemed strange ever since the battle. Even the women avoided them while bathing, and everything felt different, though he couldn't explain it. Meanwhile, Chen pulled Lisa out and laughed, saying he never expected her to fall into a trap. But at least now they knew it worked. Lisa also laughed, saying she didn't expect him to know so many strange tricks. Chen then asked what had brought her out here in the middle of the night, and Lisa said she had overheard the Bay tribe talking that evening. She explained that 2 members of the Bay tribe were saying they wish they could go to the coast for fish, shrimp, or clams to have more strength for war, but the path to the coast was blocked by a pack of ferocious hyenas, so no one dared to go, while there was a risk of being attacked. Back in the present, Lisa said that was why she had gone out at night to find a safer path. Chen said he had taken that path many times, and there were no hyenas there 5 days ago. He suspected someone from the Bay tribe had snuck out recently and lured the hyena pack into the area. Lisa asked if there was a problem with the Bay tribe and offered to execute them. Chen immediately said no, that wasn't what he meant. He was thinking about the security loopholes they hadn't realized, and said they needed patrols. He also stressed that they had to clear the path to the beach and make it safe. Chen added that fish and shrimp were just a bonus. The real priority was the dodo birds and their eggs. He also suggested opening a salt field to dry salt. Then, he made a decision. At dawn, they would deal with the hyena pack. Lisa said she could handle the patrols and hidden sentries. However, she urged Chen to think carefully about hunting the hyenas and expanding their territory. Chen smirked and asked if she was worried about him. Flustered, Lisa told him not to be so full of himself. She warned that with so few people, parting 2 separate areas could be dangerously reckless. She also reminded him the beach had been attacked by the giant rock tribe once. What if they came back? Chen replied that was exactly why the beach was now relatively safe. He explained that their main camp, the beach outpost, and the giant rock tribe on the southwestern mountain formed a triangle. If goods and messages moved smoothly between the camp and the coast, both sides could support each other. Lisa admitted she didn't really understand his reasoning, but since he had made up his mind, she agreed. Sometime later, Dan, Hector, Lane Kichi, and a few Bay tribe members went to where the child had spotted the hyena pack. Hector asked the child if he was sure it was this bath. There was no smell of blood. The child insisted he had seen the hyenas there about 2 days ago. As the boy went ahead, a hyena suddenly lunged at him. Hector reacted instantly, fighting it off, and pulling the child out of harm's way. But almost immediately, the hyena pack surrounded them from all directions. Lang and Gucci warned Chen to be on guard. Chen just smiled, saying that with the Bay tribe by their side, a pack of wild dogs was nothing. Hector then told Chen to handle the group on the left while he took the right. The battle broke out, and the Bay tribe easily tore into the hyena pack. Chen figured this was a perfect chance to see what the new recruits were really capable of. A hyena suddenly leaped at Chen. He easily blocked it, grabbing it by the neck. Within minutes, they had wiped out the hyena pack. Hector muttered that the fight was unsatisfying. Chen told him to forget it, and urged everyone to keep moving. As they went further, Hector said this used to be their territory. When they arrived, Chen told everyone to study the cliff. That, he said, was where the outpost would be built. He specified it had to be near the cliff and large enough for 20 people with a signal tower on top. Shen added that once the tower was finished, they also needed a small salt field next to the outpost. He told Hector he would send more people to help, but made it clear he only had 4 days to finish everything. For a moment, Shen felt like a foreman inspecting a construction site, even though he was the one doing the heavy lifting. Before leaving, Shen instructed them to light the signal fire immediately if any emergencies occurred. The scene shifts to 3 days later as Chen finished crafting a wooden bell and earned 5 tech points. Just then, Ayu came in to inform everyone that Sam had returned with a report. Chen went over and asked if Sam had found any northern tribes to ally with or conquer. Sam said he had traveled north for over a day and found no trace of humans. All he discovered was a lake, a snow-capped mountain nearby, and a strange creature living in the water. Before he could get a good look, the creature sank to the bottom and disappeared. With the snow mountain lying further ahead, Sam didn't dare to continue and turned back. Shen laughed it off, praised him for a job well done, then joked that Sam was more afraid of the snow mountain than the lake monster. Shuddering, Sam said the mountain was much scarier. He asked if Chen had ever heard the stories about it. Chen asked what was so scary, but Ayu suddenly hugged him, saying she was scared. Chen asked why the snow mountain frightened her so much. Ayu said the mountain wasn't the worst part. It was what lived beyond it. A giant. Chen told Ayu not to be afraid. With him here, she didn't need to be. Then, the system suddenly issued a new mission quest: find the giant, and he will receive an attribute point. Chen was stunned. Why would just seeing a giant earn him a point? He had nearly gotten himself killed driving off a saber-toothed tiger, and only earned 2 points. He then figured the giant was probably just an oversized guy. Observing from a distance shouldn't be that dangerous, right? On the other hand, if the giants had their own civilization, maybe they could even become allies. Still, he had to be cautious. One mistake could bring disaster to the tribe. However, exploration and diplomacy weren't tasks he could fully entrust to Sam and Ayu. Chen told Sam to rest. The party would be in 2 days, so he could relax and enjoy himself. Sam thanked him, clearly relieved to have a break and not have to face the giant. Ayu reminded Chen that Sam got nervous in certain situations. Chen said it might not be just nerves. Sam sensed danger better than anyone else, which made him unusually wary of certain threats. That's why he could wander outside and still survive. Chen then asked Ayu about the preparations for the mating ceremony. Ayu said everything was ready. Chen told her to pack travel supplies for 4 people. He planned to take a small group on an expedition. Hearing he was going himself, Ayu tensed and asked if the trip was dangerous. Chen said he was just scouting the nearby areas, so there was no need to worry. He asked for food, water bags, and warm clothes and told Ayu to thank Shen for sewing the clothes so well. Ayu then asked when he planned to leave. Chen said the ceremony was in 2 days, so he would depart after the party. The scene shifts to 2 days later with Chen having prepared a shield for himself. He explained that made from hardwood and oxhide, it was very light. He added that everyone should replace their equipment as soon as possible. Just then, Ayu came in and told Chen to put on his royal ceremonial attire. When he came out wearing it, everyone cheered and began to celebrate. At that moment, Chen couldn't help but wonder if the mating ceremony was a wedding. In his previous life, he had struggled just to survive. But now, he had his own tribe, his own people, and a wife. It almost felt like a dream. Still, in this world, he truly felt like he belonged. Shen approached Lisa and told her that if anything happened to him, the fate of Novice Village would be in her hands. He then announced to the entire tribe that from this moment on, Lisa was the queen of Novice Village. Everyone loudly praised their king and queen, and the atmosphere became incredibly emotional. Even Mia cried, saying she didn't want anyone to replace the king, but the sight was still very moving. After the celebration ended, and night fell, everyone wished Chen a good night and left. Chen was relieved the ceremony had gone off without a hitch. Ayu approached with a smile and told him that Queen Lisa was waiting in the palace. He should go to her. At first, Chen blushed at the thought of Lisa waiting for him, but then tensed, remembering her favorite display of affection involved a wit. Still, he went toward the palace, curious about what might be waiting for him. Gathering his courage, Chen opened the door and told Lisa he was home. But the moment he saw her furious face and felt the heavy tension, Chen froze, wondering why it suddenly felt like someone was about to die. Lisa told him she would give him one chance to explain. Worried, Chen asked what exactly she wanted him to explain. Lisa stood up, drew her wit, and asked if he was still going to pretend. Now truly scared, Chen begged her to go easy on him. It was their wedding night. Inwardly, He regretted upgrading Lisa's whip. Lisa demanded to know why he was in such a hurry to leave her by going on a journey right after the ceremony. Hearing this, Shun relaxed a little and asked her to calm down so he could explain. He laid out his entire plan, and Lisa asked if he intended to persuade the giants to join them against the giant rock tribe. Shen said he wasn't sure he could persuade the giants and wanted to be safe, so the real purpose of the trip had to be kept secret. He also admitted he didn't understand why Sam and Ayu were so afraid of the giants. Lisa heard this and asked if it would be better if she went with him. Shen refused, saying one of them had to stay with the tribe, and besides, she had a more important job to handle. Lisa asked what it was. Shen took out a stone slingshot and said he would show her how it worked later. He explained that when he returned, he needed her to train a slingshot team. The scene shifts to the next morning with Chen heading toward the giants' territory with Huangshu, Hector, and Yun. He was even singing to himself, but Yun was glaring at him angrily. Seeing this, Chen got nervous and wondered if Yun was deliberately walking behind him, just waiting for another chance to ambush him, but he couldn't do anything about it. This was Lisa's decision. What happened last night was simple. When Chen tried to flirt with Lisa, she snapped at him to stop teasing her. She then asked why. If he needed 3 companions, he wouldn't have chosen people from the Green Coconut tribe or the Bay tribe. Chen said he wanted Hector to come along because he had seen his fighting skills firsthand. As for the beach outpost, Stone Bone would manage it now. Lisa said she didn't care who else he chose, but insisted that Yun had to go with him. She said she would only feel safe if Yun was by his side. Lisa stepped closer and assured Chen she had punished Yun severely for the previous incident, so he had nothing to worry about. Back in the present, Chen was still tense. Yun walking behind him made his anger simmer and his nerves fray. Right now, Chen was clinging to Huangshu like a life raft, believing that if anything happened, only Huangshu could save him. Huangshu muttered that it felt like someone was watching them, then brushed it off, figuring it was probably just his imagination. Hector asked Chen if he knew there was a lake ahead. Chen nodded, saying Sam had mentioned it before. Hector laughed and guessed Sam must have seen the giant too, because as a child, he had watched it swallow a leopard in one gulp. He added that he was lucky to have survived seeing it as a kid, and this time he hoped for a real fight with the lake monster. Chen was speechless. How was encountering a creature like that considered lucky? He told Hector that monsters like the lake monster didn't interest him much. He was only interested in something stronger, like a giant. That made Huangshu shudder, and he nervously begged Chen not to make such wishes. Chen said he was just kidding, then asked if the giants really existed. Huangshu began to explain that before they met the king, their tribe had over 30 members. Then one day, they encountered a giant, and the whole tribe was helpless. Everyone fled in a panic, even though he was very young. Hungu then said that none of the survivors could forget that horrific sight. Owl. Chen finally understood why Sam and Ayu trembled every time the giants were mentioned. Hector interjected, and warned everyone not to eat the nearby fruit. He had tried it as a child and had paid a heavy price. Chen checked the fruit with his system and confirmed it came from a poisonous tree. He feared the strange plants around them could all be useful, so he had the system scan and identify them. The results stunned him. Every single plant had high medicinal value. Chen was amazed. The entire forest was basically filled with herbs. Then, he noticed something familiar, and after checking, he identified it as a type of grain grass. Chen's eyes lit up immediately, thrilled to have found grain, and soon received a side quest to cultivate a certain grain in large quantities and successfully grow it within 180 days. Chen immediately thought they could finally get into agriculture. And once they found clay, they could cook, make medicine, and much more. Since the grain wasn't ripe yet, he decided he would come back later to harvest it. Then, Chen felt something strange. This time it wasn't Yun's hostility. Huangshu pointed at something, and Chen whipped around, expecting danger. Instead, he found a leaf with tough fibers, perfect for making rope, clubs, or even paper. He praised Huangshu for discovering something so useful, already imagining better clothes. But Huangshu clarified that he didn't mean the strange grass. He meant the noise behind the bushes. When Chen looked over, a hyena was stepping out of the bushes. He guessed the hyena pack had been following them all this time, and the eyes they had felt earlier were probably theirs. Realizing they might be back for revenge, Chen told everyone not to let them go and urged them to eliminate the threat. The battle began. Hector charged in angrily, determined to finish off the hyenas this time, but Yun was suddenly surrounded by 2 or 3 hyenas lunging at her. Hector rushed over and saved her with ease, telling her not to thank him. It was his job. The hyena pack then started to retreat, and Hector laughed that it was a pity they were running away. Chen immediately yelled for them not to let the hyenas escape because he was sick of being ambushed over and over. They gave chase, but Chen quickly realized that even with his 2 extra agility points, he could barely keep up with their speed, so catching them was unrealistic. And a strange silence fell behind him. When he turned back, he was speechless. A Yun had been captured by some kind of plant monster. Chen wondered what it was, and after checking, he learned it was a red cane flower, a giant herb that secreted corrosive mucus and actively hunted nearby animals for food. Chen was stunned. It was a man-eating flower. First the saber-toothed tiger, then the giants, and now this. The primitive arrow was getting further and further from anything he understood. A Yun tried to stab it with her bone knife, but the weapon slipped from her hand and fell into the flower's mouth, where it disintegrated instantly. The sight horrified everyone. Chen yelled, demanding to know why Hangu and Hector were just standing there, and ordered them to save a Yun. Hangu replied that they weren't refusing to help. They had also been captured by the creature. Chen immediately started hacking at the flower's vines, yelling for a Yun to hang on until he got to her. A Yun screamed, telling Chen to forget her, save Hector and Huang Shu instead, and run. Before he could reach her, the man-eating flower had swallowed her. Rage flooded Chen, but he forced himself to focus on saving Hector and Huang Shu first. Then, to his astonishment, the hyena pack attacked from behind. Hector helped by throwing something at the hyenas to drive them back, warning Chen not to get any closer. It was a trap laid by the hyenas. Huang Shu also yelled for Chen to run, saying he could still escape alone while they held off the hyenas for as long as possible. Still, Chen continued to struggle with the vines, realizing they weren't particularly fast. The hyenas were just taking advantage of the distraction. He then noticed they were near an area of dead trees. Gambling everything, Chen pulled out his flint and struck a spark against the wood, setting it ablaze. In his mind, there was no creature alive that couldn't be solved with a good old-fashioned barbecue. The vines caught fire, and Chen managed to pull a Yun out of the flower's mouth. The moment she was out, he worriedly asked if she was okay and could move. They still had to save Huang Shu. A Yun's skirt had been torn to shreds in the chaos, so Chen gave her his royal cloak to cover herself. Once everyone was free, they fled. As they ran, Chen kept throwing his flint at the dead trees, setting more of them on fire so they wouldn't have to fear the hyenas chasing them from behind. Then, Chen spotted water ahead. He yelled for everyone to keep going and jump in. The water would protect them, but a hyena was still chasing a Yun and was about to attack. Seeing the danger, Chen told her to watch her back and sprinted to save her. The hyena attacked him, but Chen managed to hold it off. Hector and Hangu were tense, not knowing how to help. Chen yelled for everyone to keep running, because the fire was spreading fast. He promised to be right behind them, though he worried he might not be able to tire out the beast before the flames reached them. Then, an arrow flew out of nowhere and struck the hyena, killing it instantly. Chen turned to see who had fired it, and was shocked. It was a Yun. He realized her archery talent had awakened, then asked her if she knew how to use a bow. The Yun said she had learned by watching him earlier. She added that she had a sprained ankle and little strength left, so she couldn't escape on her own, and they should save themselves. Chen yelled that she was talking nonsense, then hoisted her onto his back and ran. Hector screamed for Chen to hurry. Their time was running out. He even asked Huang Shu if he wanted to move faster by letting him carry him with his strength, but Huang Shu refused. As Chen continued to run, a Yun suddenly said that she had intended to use this opportunity to accuse him. Did he set up the ox attack on the green coconut tribe? Chen asked why she would think that, and a Yun replied she knew he would deny it. She said the oxen that entered their lands were wounded, but their weapons couldn't pierce such thick hide. So, who had wounded them? Chen's people were particularly good at handling oxen, which only deepened her suspicion. But she knew suspicion alone wouldn't convince the queen, so she had opted for assassination instead. A Yun held a bone knife to Chen's neck and asked if she attacked now, he wouldn't be able to stop her, right? Or he could throw her into the fire and end the matter for good. Chen just told her to hold on tight. They were about to reach the edge. And after that, she could do whatever she wanted. The Yun agreed to let it go for now but said she would keep watching him. She warned that if he ever betrayed Lissa or the Green Coconut Tribe, she would kill him. Chen asked if that settled it, then accepted the terms. The Yun was even more frustrated that Chen remained stubborn and still refused to confess. Finally, they jumped into the water and escaped the fire. Only then did Chen realize that with 2 injured companions who couldn't move well, they would have to postpone the search for the giant. He told everyone to head back to where all the plants were they needed more of those herbs. The scene shifts to some time later as Handu was immensely relieved after applying the medicine, and feeling the pain subside. Shin told Handu and Ayun to rest while he and Hector collected more herbs. While gathering, Hector suddenly smelled hyenas and wondered if it was left over from the earlier battle. And Shin spotted a few hyena cubs ahead and realized the pack wasn't out for revenge. They were just protecting their young and reacting to a threat. Seeing a chance to domesticate them as hunting dogs, Shin happily accepted the mission. As they were leaving, a roar suddenly echoed nearby. Ayun asked what that sound was, but Shin recognized it immediately and tensed. They couldn't be this unlucky. A bear stepped out from behind the trees, and Hangu screamed in terror that it was a man-eating bear. Shin quickly weighed his options. With 2 injured people, running was impossible, so he ordered everyone to circle around and retreat while he held off the bear. Hector and Ayun tried to protest, but Chen snapped at them to follow orders and stop arguing. Chen snapped that they would only slow him down. They had one chance to live, so they needed to follow his orders. He told Hector to get Ayun and Huangshu to safety. Then, Shin charged the bear, while the others fled. In a flash, he was face to face with the beast. Shin attacked first, but the bear countered, flinging him into the air and leaving a minor wound. Hector saw this and immediately panicked. He urged Huangshu and Ayun to take the hyena cubs back while he went to help the king. Hangu yelled for Hector not to interfere. He had seen Chen's terrifying power. To him, even the toughest enemy couldn't defeat Chen, and staying would only restrict his movements. So, Hangu insisted they had to follow Chen's orders and leave. Meanwhile, Chen realized his last blow had fully drawn the bear's attention. His plan was now simple: drag the monster away, then escape. He provoked the bear to chase him, and when it did, Chen sprinted in the opposite direction of the others to keep them safe. After creating some distance, he figured Hector and the rest were far enough away, so he prepared to shake off the bear and escape. But then something attacked him from behind. Shin dodged just in time and wondered what was coming at him now. For a second, he thought it might be some kind of giant rat monster. Instead, to his astonishment, it was the saber-toothed tiger he had fought when he first arrived in this world. Even the tiger seemed startled to see Chen again. But the reunion was cut short as the bear caught up. Now Chen was in real danger. He knew he couldn't deal with both their strength and speed at the same time, so he considered using his Pangu power. But he also knew the cost. He would be weakened for a long time, and might even be unconscious for days. Worse, even if he survived the tiger and the bear, the giant rock tribe could attack while he was helpless and finish him off. As the bear and the saber-toothed tiger closed in on Shen, he kept trying to shift positions, hoping to make them clash with each other. Suddenly, the system signaled to extreme danger and activated an emergency escape mode. For 600 seconds, Shen received 20 points in agility and a conversion of strength to stamina. But afterward, 33 of his 3 main stats would be permanently reduced. The moment it activated, Shen felt a completely different surge of power. He leaped into the air, dodging both attacks, and causing the bear and tiger to crash into each other. Shen was stunned by how light and fast he had become. Still, the bear and tiger continued to chase him. That made Chen uneasy as he ran. Why weren't they fighting each other? A while later, he finally managed to shake them off. Still, Chen felt a pang of regret. The emergency escape mode was incredible, but the cost was devastating. He then noticed he had run all the way to the snow mountain, so he decided to use his remaining time to look for the giant. With one stride, he covered an incredible distance. He was grateful for the escape mode. Without it, the thick snow would have exhausted him quickly. When he reached the top of the mountain, Shin finally spotted a figure and wondered if this was the legendary giant. The moment he saw it, the system announced the mission was complete and gave him his reward. But the giant mission now had a second step quest: attack the giant to receive 10 attribute points. Chen was immediately annoyed and wondered if the system was insane. Just then, one of the giant's pets spotted something, and Chen quickly hid. Still, the reward of 10 attribute points was too tempting, so he decided to try by moving as fast as he could. He picked up a rock and threw it at the giant. The rock flew over slowly, tapped the giant, and was so small the giant didn't even notice. But the giant's pet did and began to growl, sensing trouble. Chen was thrilled when the mission completed, and he received his 10 attribute points. However, the system immediately revealed a third phase quest: defeat the giant alone to receive 100 attribute points. Seeing this, Chen hesitated. The reward of 100 points was incredibly tempting and could completely change his situation. He wavered on whether to try. While he was still thinking, the giant, annoyed by its pet's growling, slammed the ground and snapped at it to be quiet. The impact sent snow flying into the air, burying Chen under it. His senses were momentarily numbed, making the giant's overwhelming power painfully clear. Chen muttered that even 10-0 attribute points weren't worth dying for. The scene shifts to evening a few days later at the novice village camp. Lisa asked what the Green Coconut tribe had found during their night patrol, and they apologized. They hadn't found anyone. Lisa ordered them to expand their patrol range and keep searching. Yun grimly said they should prepare for the worst, fearing Chen was dead. Lisa immediately cut her off in anger, reminding her that Chen had risked his life to save all of them. Then, a boy from the Bei tribe ran in, yelling that their king had returned. The moment Chen entered the territory, everyone rushed over, worried about his condition. Mia stepped up and noticed Yun was with him. She asked why Yun hadn't lit the signal fire sooner so they could have rescued Chen, but Yun said King Chen had ordered him not to make a fuss about his return. Just then, Lisa arrived and yelled for everyone to stop crowding him and let Chen rest. She grabbed Chen, sent everyone back to their posts, and declared that she would take care of him now. She also warned that if anyone leaked the news, they would face severe consequences. That got everyone to fearfully agree. In the house, Chen said he was relieved that Sam and the others had returned safely, and admitted he hadn't expected them to bring back the hyena cubs. He asked Lisa to let Sam raise them since Sam might need extra help when he was out alone later. Lisa snapped that Chen should worry about himself first, and no matter how talented he was, he still had to take care of his body. Chen said the injuries weren't serious. He was just tired and would recover after some sleep, though he still wanted to handle tribe affairs. Lisa placed a foot on his stomach and slowly slid it down. Fine, she would inform Sam, but reminded him that as king, he didn't have to do everything himself. More than that, she said she didn't want to lose her man. Lisa then suddenly stepped on his sensitive spot, making Chen freeze and beg her to move. She finally backed off and told him to rest. Chen was left stunned, realizing Lisa was becoming more and more domineering. After Lisa stepped out, Lang Gucci asked how Chen was doing. Lisa replied that he was fine, just needed rest. So, she wasn't allowing anyone to disturb him. Later, Chen opened his system screen, and was pleased to see that even after losing 4 attribute points, he had still gained a total of 10. For him, the trip was worth it, but he also realized that high strength with low agility was useless in emergencies. Agility was the key to survival. So, Chen maxed out his agility first. The system showed it had reached 5 points, hitting a threshold. To increase it again now cost double. Chen wondered if pushing agility to 10 with double the points would hit another threshold, then double again, then quadruple. If so, reaching 22 agility wouldn't be easy at all. That made Chen wonder if all stats had thresholds. To test it, he decided to push each attribute to its current limit first. As Chen increased his rock attribute, an intense feeling ripped through him, as if his body was about to explode. His shoes and pants were torn to shreds as his physique grew larger. He realized he only had 2 more attributes to get to their thresholds. Exhausted, Chen lay on his bed, thinking his next points should also go toward hitting another threshold. He then fell asleep. Sometime later, things in the novice territory were running smoothly. Lisa was teaching everyone how to use a slingshot. She even demonstrated, hitting 6 targets, grazing 1, and missing 1. Then, Chen appeared out of nowhere, and praised everyone for doing so well on their first try. Lisa saw him, and immediately demanded to know why he was here after she had told him to rest. Chen replied that he felt perfectly fine, but Lisa noticed his new pants, suspected he had been with another woman, and was ready to punish him. Chen quickly explained that his clothes didn't fit anymore because his strength had increased, almost begging her to let it go. Lisa then told him the slingshot team was formed, though to become truly proficient would take time. Chen asked how Huang Shu and Yun were doing and if their injuries had healed. Lisa said Hemgu refused to lie in bed and be a burden to the tribe, so he had gone to In Waters to take care of Huang Shu, so there was nothing to worry about there. She added that Yun worried her more since her injuries were lighter. Maybe because Lisa had scolded her before, Yun had been in a bad mood. Chen told Lisa that Yun cared deeply for her and silently shouldered a loss, so Lisa should be a little kinder to her. Chen then said he would go back to rest since in a few days he needed to go north to harvest those precious millet plants. He also planned to continue working on his inventions in the meantime. The scene shifts to later with Chen having prepared a number chart from 1 to 9. He planned to teach simple addition and subtraction next to create a written language and numbers. Chen earned 20 attribute points. Then, the system showed his tech points had reached 100, and a new tech store had opened. It allowed Chen to trade tech points for useful tools and heritage tablets, though traded items couldn't be returned. The system then displayed a full catalog of items and resources available for him to purchase with those points. Excited by all the options, Shin studied the list and prepared to choose his first item. That really makes you wonder what he'll trade for first. As for future troubles, whether from the giant rock tribe or the growing tension with the Yun, that could add a lot of stress to the story, so let's see how it plays out. Stay tuned for more on the channel. After the tech store appeared, Shen checked his inventory and spent 30 tech points on an iron cauldron. It was a steal. He chose it not just for cooking, but because it was iron. Wear it on your back, and it works as armor. Tie it to an arm, and it becomes a shield. But its real value was in a life-or-death moment when it could help kill an enemy. Shen was so happy with the item that he barely noticed the noise it was making. Hearing the clanging, Liu Tang got worried about his cane, and went in. There, he saw Chen performing a bizarre dance around the new object, leaving him utterly confused. Trying to cover, Chen claimed he was communicating with the gods and spirits. Still, it was time to put the cauldron to good use. He dug a pit with his hands, leaving space for smoke to escape and for firewood to feed the flames. Then, all he had to do was place the cauldron over the fire and boil water. To his surprise, the system counted that as progress and rewarded him with another 10 tech points, which was very encouraging. Once upon a time, Shen had learned a lot from a professor he admired. He just never imagined he'd actually use that knowledge. As the water boiled, he put in the main ingredients, in this case, seafood, and began to cook a fish soup. He stirred everything well. The system granted another 10 points for creating a new cooking method. So, for Chen, today's meal was twice as delicious. Just then, Stonebone came in with good news. They had finally produced salt by evaporating seawater in the salt fields, earning more points. And with salt now available, the food was much tastier. As a reward, Shen let him taste the experimental soup before sending him back to work. The points he had just spent on the cauldron had quickly returned, making it his most profitable exchange in a good while. After tasting it, Shen told Liu Tang to gather the rest of the tribe and tell everyone to bring their bowls. This was the first time they had tasted fish so well prepared, so the new flavor took them by surprise. Luckily, there was plenty, and everyone could even have seconds. Mia was one of them. After 2 bowls, she still wanted more. A worried someone might go without. But Shen assured her there was enough for everyone, and if not, he could simply cook more. He still needed another batch for the guards and patrol team. The people at the outpost had to taste it too, anyway. So, in a few days, he planned to bring them fish soup himself. He loved teaching the tribe new things and seeing their happiness. That's why he decided to teach them to use wooden chopsticks, so they could eat roasted beef like civilized people. Meanwhile, as the bowls clattered around him, Shen opened the tech store again to find another useful item. He had saved up 100 tech points, so trading them for something new made sense. He immediately ruled out the math and agriculture kilns. They were unnecessary. What he really needed for farming were precious seeds, which the tribe hadn't collected yet. Unfortunately, he was interrupted just then and informed that a trap to the north had been sprung. There were no signs of people nearby, so it was likely just a beast, possibly still alive. The unexpected appearance of Lisa surprised him, but her usual sternness resolved the matter quickly. She told the guards not to bother the king over such a small thing, and to just kill the beast. She was frustrated that Chen was too busy to think about her, so she had come herself. Only now he had to smooth things over at home. This time, he promised to bring back something new, and make more changes for the tribe. He sealed that promise with a kiss, which flustered her, then returned to the trapped animal, because instead of killing it, he could domesticate it. So, he left the remaining work to Lisa. The nettles Huang Shu had brought before were gone, so they needed to gather more. More importantly, they had to find the precious millet plants whose seeds could be grown in the fields. As they headed for the traps, Chen kept searching for the seeds, but found nothing. Finally, they arrived, but the area around the trapped beast was strangely quiet. When they looked inside, they were stunned. Not long ago, the animal had been howling desperately for help, but now it only growled in pain, its leg impaled and throbbing. It was another hyena drawn there while looking for food. One look made it clear she was a mother sow. Sam, being especially sensitive to the smell of milk, immediately realized she was nursing. Most likely, this was the mother of the hyena cubs. Feeling a sense of responsibility for those cubs, Jin climbed down toward her despite the risk of her claws. After binding her with rope, they easily pulled the animal up. Weakened from her injuries, the hyena had become almost as docile as a pet dog. Now it was up to Sam to take care of her. Chen told him to save the animal and feed it. It didn't sound like an easy job. The hyena cubs they had caught before refused every piece of meat he offered, so he had no idea what their mother would eat. Sam had kept trying to find the right food, but the cubs only got thinner and weaker. Just as Chen suspected, raising the hyena cubs was much harder than it first seemed. Still, the mother getting trapped might just save them. The moment they got back, Chen ordered the adult hyena to be tied up, had some meat, and brought to the cubs. That should help them, so Sam rushed back to the tribe immediately. Chen could only hope the wild beasts would get used to home and allow themselves to be domesticated. Chen then sent warriors to check the remaining traps, while he and the others continued further north. The further they went, the more wildlife they saw. Luckily, his plan had worked. They found the wild millet plants just as they ripened. If he had waited just a few more days, they might have lost the harvest. So, this stroke of luck felt like a gift from the gods. And since there was still time before they had to go back, Chen decided to start collecting herbs. It might have been their most productive day in a long time, with resources piled up before nightfall. But at dusk, the larger beasts awoke. The loud cries of the bear were familiar to Chen, so he ordered everyone into the bushes. They immediately went silent, trying not to give themselves away, but the animal moved fast, and in a few moments was close by. In such a dangerous situation, they might have abandoned the millet and herbs weighing them down, but Chen forbade it. He refused to waste such valuable resources, and told them to wait until the beast had passed. No one objected. Still, everyone shifted into a position that would allow them to run immediately if needed. Survival was most important to the tribe. To Chen, the stance looked so ridiculous he almost laughed, but the bear wandering nearby might still be their old acquaintance. Unfortunately, as the bear's cries faded, the group relaxed too much and started whispering silly questions, which annoyed Chen. To shut them up, he warned he would throw them straight into the bear's mouth if it came back because of their noise. But his loud threat actually reached the beast, and it started heading back toward them. The bear roared violently, crashing into tree after tree, unable to stand steady, and constantly collapsing. It had probably injured itself badly, and couldn't calm down. So, Stonebone suggested they catch it for dinner. But they weren't the only ones with that idea. After a stranger's shout rang out, the bear staggered to its feet, and fled from the hunters in the opposite direction. This time, it was being chased by people from the Giant Rock tribe, the very ones Hector wanted revenge on. Fueled by that hatred, he leaped out of the bushes, and ran after them. That reckless move nearly exposed everyone, but Chen pulled him back into cover. With a loud rustle, they were hidden again, though the noise had attracted the attention of a man from the Giant Rock tribe. Luckily, they ignored the distraction and focused on their prey. Hector, however, couldn't understand Shen's decision. He thought they had a perfect opportunity for revenge. Still, Shen had stopped him, but his hatred couldn't be allowed to cloud his judgment. The enemy greatly outnumbered them, and attacking now would be reckless. Shen's only advantage was that the enemy was out in the open, while his group remained hidden in the shadows. If Hector wanted to fight, he had to wait for the right moment. So, for now, he had to obey. Meanwhile, the bear was completely exhausted, and collapsed in the middle of a clearing. One of the men chasing it openly mocked the animal and kept forcing the poor beast to its feet over and over. But the leader of the Giant Rock tribe did not approve of such cruelty. The bear had eaten a deer laced with poisonous white flowers, then been stabbed in the stomach. After all that, it was amazing it had run this far, so it deserved a decent death. Humiliating it like this was low, so it was punishment. The offender was thrown into a tree. The leader then ordered everyone out of the clearing while he prepared a quick, though still painful, end for the bear. For that, he intended to use an obsidian blade made from natural volcanic glass. The detail about the bait also caught Chen's attention. Very few primitives would think to poison bait like that, so their intelligence surprised him. But the system objected to killing the bear and ordered Chen to save it. That meant risking a clash with the Giant Rock tribe to save the very beast that had just tried to kill him. It was completely absurd. Still, the system had anticipated Chen's outrage. If he refused this rare mission, he would never come back. The system gave him no time to consider, and Chen accepted despite the danger. Remembering every insult he could think of, Chen cursed the system as he moved toward the target. That fury gave him the momentum he needed to stop the obsidian blade. The moment Chen appeared, he ruined the entire show the leader had planned for his warriors. By daring to take the tribe's prey, Chen's group had put themselves in danger, and angered their enemies. For now, Chen chose to trust the system, hoping the bear's gratitude would justify the risk. The moment he accepted, the system issued a side quest. The bear had been poisoned with common nightshade and stabbed in the stomach. Chen had 10 minutes to stop the bleeding and administer an antidote, or it would die. When he accepted, Shen had completely forgotten about the poison. Thinking fast, he realized the mission was to save the bear, not start a war with the giant rock tribe, and a head-on clash with them was the last thing he wanted. But there was no time to negotiate a peaceful exchange. At the same time, the enemy leader recognized the boy who had recently visited the Sea tribe. His dismissive attitude enraged Hector. He didn't even remember his name. Hector gritted his teeth, just waiting for permission to attack. Shen ignored the exchange. He was too focused on the system's warnings, constantly alerting him about the penalty. If he failed, the system would shrink Shen's reproductive body parts by half. Even for it, that was brutal. Shen immediately imagined Lisa leaving him with nothing but his harvested millet. He refused to let his dynasty end like that. So, Kiri took over, and he showed the enemy his strength. Shen was ready to die to save the beast, but he wouldn't drag the others down with him, so he told them to protect themselves. With that, the battle finally broke out. Everyone charged in to protect Shen, while he tended to the bear. Luckily, he stopped the bleeding in less than a minute, but that was the easy part. Next, he had to neutralize the poison, something he had never dealt with before. The bear's treatment depended entirely on Chen, and with him out of the fight, his team started to lose their advantage. The battle could easily end in death. Everyone was already badly injured, preventing them from fighting properly, but they held on so Chen could finish. Then, the leader of the giant rock tribe suddenly ordered a halt. He actually liked Chen's group. For a newly assembled band of wanderers, they had fought impressively. As a reward, he offered to spare their lives if they retreated. Hector refused. His hatred burned in him, and he wanted to settle old scores right now. As he said, they were just getting warmed up. Evening or not, they still had plenty of strength. The others backed up that bravado to intimidate the enemy and reassure Chen while he struggled with the poison. Meanwhile, the system's treatment deadline was quickly disappearing. Chen had 6 minutes left and still had no idea how to neutralize the toxins. Despite what the others said, he could see Ehunstone Bone was barely standing. If this went on, the mission would fail. He could almost hear the system laughing. But to save himself, Shen was willing to make a fool of himself if he had to. Meanwhile, the enemy leader accepted their refusal and lowered himself into a threatening stance. He put so much force into it that his feet hitting the ground created a massive shockwave. No one had ever seen anything like it, and they were speechless. Luckily, Shen saved them. Sacrificing his weapon, he broke the wave and created a cloud of dust. He had wanted to avoid fighting the tribe, but now it was clear he had to intervene. That only made the leader more curious. He now wanted to know which tribe could so boldly stand against them. He had taken them for wanderers, but he had clearly misjudged. It wasn't his style to crush a small group with an army. So, when he heard what he wanted, he let them go. Instead, he promised to face Chen another day with equal numbers on both sides. The leader of the giant rock tribe was pleased to have met him today, so he retreated with a noble air, taking his wounded with him. That included the man he had thrown into a tree for mocking the bear. He was now in such bad shape that the others had to carry him away. So, Shen's newly formed tribe had averted disaster. Now, there was only one problem left: purging the poison that was tormenting the bear. While Chen treated it, the giant rock tribe couldn't understand why their leader had voluntarily given up his prey. For them, it made no sense, but the lack of ginseng explained it. They relied on that plant to boost their strength. On top of that, the supernatural power granted by their sorceress was nearly depleted. Chen was not a simple opponent. He had blocked an attack powered by 70 of the leader's strength. Seeing Chen remain so calm, the leader was certain he was hiding something. His weapon also looked strange and too sharp for such a weak tribe. Studying his own obsidian blade, the leader swore to go all out in their next encounter. Meanwhile, Chen asked the rest of his team for ideas. Unfortunately, none of them knew how to counter nightshade toxins, so they could only watch. Some still asked why he was saving the bear. They thought it was just prey they had fought over, but there was no time to explain. All they needed to understand was that this had become a life or death crisis. The system left him with one last attempt, so Chen used honeysuckle and bark. Both herbs were known to counter poison, though no one knew if they would work on nightshade toxins. They forced the beast's mouth open and shoved in everything they had prepared. Chen spent the remaining time holding his breath, waiting for a miracle, each second passing slowly. Only in the final moments did the system finally send a notification that the bear's condition had stabilized. With the bear out of danger, they could finally breathe. Only Hector continued to insist they should chase after the giant rock tribe before it got too far. Like a wise king, Chen explained that no one yet knew the full strength or tricks of the enemy force. If they charged in blindly, They would suffer heavy losses for no reason. Even a miraculous victory would be a Pyrrhic one. Chen refused to waste his people on revenge, since the giant rock tribe would come to them eventually. He needed time to plan and build his strength. After making that clear, he sent the others back to the village, while he stayed behind to watch over the bear. Stonebone would tell the queen to increase patrols and put guards while those guests were on their way. Alone with the animal, Chen found the long night unbearable. Predators constantly came for the bear's scent, and he had to drive them off again and again. So, Chen spent the entire night fighting off wildlife. He was surprised they tasted so good, and happily ate roasted meat. Near dawn, the bear also woke up and turned toward the smell of food. Chen offered it a piece while they still had time and kindly gave it a piece of meat. Unsure if the beast would eat cooked food, he also left a pile of live rabbits separately just in case. By the time the fire died down, Chen and the wild beast were full and rested. Then, the system announced the mission was complete, awarding him favorability points from the bear and offering to allocate them immediately. Chen put the points into physical fitness first, raising it to a critical level and turning him into a truly powerful man. He was happy with the reward, and while he enjoyed it, the bear shared a portion of its food with him. It was its way of showing loyalty, so Chen accepted and shared the meal with it. Now fully recovered, the bear should have gone its separate way, and Chen hoped they would meet again someday. But the animal had other plans. It quickly grabbed Chen's clothes and made it clear it wanted to come to the settlement with him, stubbornly demanding a yes. A beast that size would eat a lot, but having a bear as a companion could significantly raise Chen's status. So, even though it was clumsy and of limited use, Chen took it with him. He named the bear Shunde, giving it an official place in the tribe. Gratefully, the bear happily jumped on our hero for a hug and a lick, then followed along. Now, with a strong helper by his side, Chen could track the giant rock tribe and scout their route. Riding on Shunde's back, he easily followed the trail the enemy had carelessly left behind. But the further they went, the thicker it got. A sign of only one thing, a bamboo forest ahead. Bamboo wasn't just useful for construction. It could also be used to make fir crackers. All he needed was a mixture of nitri, sulfur, and charcoal stuffed into a bamboo tube. A perfect container for gunpowder. If they made fir crackers, they could catch the enemy by surprise in a decisive battle. Even if the explosion was weak, the noise alone could terrify the tribe and make them flee. Chen already had saltpeter and had learned to make charcoal in a kiln. But sulfur was still a problem. The mineral usually only formed around volcanoes, so he opened the system map to narrow his search. Just as he suspected, a volcano was located near the ice giant. If he stayed far enough away, he could risk checking for sulfur there. Last time, Shen was only focused on escaping and ignored the resources around him. But with Shunde by his side, this trip would be much easier. After reviewing the plan over and over, he finally told the bear to head north to see something amazing. They sprinted at full speed and soon reached the same lake where Hector and Sam had once been. Studying the area, Chen told Shunde he had passed through here before. He hadn't had the time or interest to explore then, but now he could make up for it. As they approached the lake cautiously, both fell silent, waiting for the sea monster they had heard so much about, but nothing surfaced. Chen was about to move on, when Shunde suddenly tensed and backed away. At the same time, bubbles rose all over the lake, a sign of something huge below. Then, a massive head emerged, roaring as the rest of its body followed. It was a real Tyrannosaurus, looking for easy prey. Only a broken rope hanging from it showed the beast had once belonged to someone. This Rex was the last thing Chen expected to find. He and the bear crouched low in the grass, tense, gauging the monster's size. The color around its neck suggested it might be the giant's pet that had escaped while its master slept. If so, then the creature that had scared the saber-toothed tiger and left those giant footprints in the forest was probably another Rex like this one. And if that was true, the mountain giant had been asleep for at least 15 days. Either way, wasting their best chance to get out would be foolish. So, the moment the beast turned away, Chen told Shunde to run for the mountains. The bear obeyed, carrying him deeper into the snow biome, but the snow got thicker and thicker until they had to stop. If anything triggered an avalanche, there would be no escape. To be safe, Chen got off Shunde, which clearly worried the bear. In reality, he intended to walk behind it and shield it if danger appeared. To reassure the bear, Chen told it to be cautious and watch its surroundings. Bringing Shunde was a smart move because every sweep of its powerful paws pushed the snow aside and revealed the ground below. Then, Chen smelled a pungent odor he recognized immediately. He started searching for the source. The deeper he dug through the snow, the stronger the smell of burnt matches came. It took a lot of effort, but he finally uncovered a sulfur deposit, something that could decide the upcoming battle with the giant rock tribe. Chen was thrilled with this discovery, because with this much sulfur, they could start making fur crackers tomorrow. After collecting as much as he could, Chen loaded it onto Shun Day and headed home. As he passed the first houses of the settlement, Sam ran up, genuinely happy to see him. Still, what no one expected was the bear by his side. To prevent a panic, Chen introduced Shun Day and told everyone not to harm it. At first, the tribe had a hard time accepting a wild beast among them. But soon, everyone wanted a ride. Chen might have allowed it if the bear had agreed, but he refused to let Shun Day be bullied, and promised to find another beast instead. Once the items were unloaded, Chen asked Yu to dry the bamboo without explaining why. He then turned to Lisa, who was boldly examining the bear up close, impressed by such a powerful animal, and proud of Chen. But that happy moment ended quickly. Soon after his return, Chen received bad news. A giant sea monster had appeared near the shore, thrashing around, and preventing the fishermen from working. Its body created waves large enough to destroy all the salt drying on the beach, leaving the fishermen helpless. After hearing the urgent report, Chen reassured the messenger and went to the beach himself to check. Riding Shun Day, he reached the sea in minutes, where broken barrels floated among the waves. The creature was an ichthyosaur, a large predatory marine reptile shaped like a fish, aggressive and egg-laying. It was still in its growth phase, about 7 meters long, and determined to destroy everything living nearby. Its behavior worried even Chen, but no one was willing to let it run rampant. If they didn't stop the ichthyosaur, it would continue to destroy everything and cause heavy losses. To defeat it, they needed to lure it onto the shore, where the reptile would lose half its strength. After laying out the plan, Chen spurred Shun toward the waves, and charged the ichthyosaur recklessly. The first blow knocked the bear over on the beach, but it also exposed the monster's belly. At the last second, Chen leaped off Shun Day and drove his axe into the reptile's flesh. That only enraged the beast further, and it spun around, clamping Chen in its jaws, and dragged him toward the deep water. The ichthyosaur dove for the seed, trying to prevent him from surfacing. Chen realized he would drown long before the monster actually ate him. So, he used all his strength to pry open its jaws. Meanwhile, Shun Day kept chasing them, and before the reptile got too far, it grabbed its tail and pulled it back to shore. The bear had understood Chen's plan and followed it. But the struggle was still brutal. Between the ichthyosaur's crushing jaws, and the lack of air, no ordinary person could have endured it. So, it was no surprise that Chen began to lose hope. Then, from the dark water, a woman appeared and saved him. With 2 daggers in hand, she slashed along the ichthyosaur's body, and forced it to release him. Blood spread in the clear water, turning it a cloudy red, and hiding the girl from view. Lacking oxygen, Chen's limbs slowly went numb, making it impossible for him to swim back. In his last moments of consciousness, he could only think of the girl who moved so skillfully under the sea. When Chen opened his eyes, he saw Shun Day on the golden sand, anxiously watching over him along with the rest of the tribe. After coughing seawater out of his lungs, Chen noticed his savior sitting on a rock and asked Alana to come closer. She was the best swimmer of the sea tribe, used to hunting in the ocean, and knew exactly where to strike the reptile to kill it quickly. Everyone knew the sea tribe wasn't known for their sharp intellect, but compared to the others, Alana seemed especially slow. Still, since she had saved his life, Chen ignored it and sincerely thanked her. What concerned him now was where she had gotten those obsidian daggers. She explained that she had taken them from a bedman who had entered her tribe's territory. Alana answered quickly, but then suspected they wanted to take the blades away and nearly started a fight, which was avoided when they explained Chen's role in the settlement, and she finally calmed down. She couldn't remember everything about him, but she understood that he wanted to help the sea tribe. Once she was convinced he could be trusted, Alana described the day the giant rock tribe suddenly invaded their lands. She had been knocked unconscious during the battle, and when she woke up, her brother Faint and the others were trapped in a cave. They were exploited mercilessly, forced to do the dirtiest jobs, and when they had had enough, Fang devised an escape plan. He would attack a guard and give the weapon to Alana, who had to cut the rope and jump from the cliff into the river. Fang believed it was the only way to save her. So, he ordered her to follow his instructions without question. If she succeeded, she had to find Hector first, who was thankfully expected to survive. With Alana's combative personality, she would have never survived in prison, let alone devise such a plan. So, Fang sent her to someone he trusted. Just then, a guard noticed their suspicious behavior and came to punish them for not following orders. That carelessness cost him dearly because Fang attacked at that very moment, using the corpse they were being forced to drag to the storeroom. When the guard was pinned, Alana grabbed his weapon, jumped into the water, and swam downstream. That's how she met the giant monster attacking Chen and later reunited with her Sea Tribe members. After hearing her story, Chen suggested she go to the camp where Fang had planned for her to meet Hector, but Alana refused to return empty-handed since the ichthyosaur was dead in the water. They would bring it back. They loaded the reptile onto Shunde and dragged it along the sand, leaving a long trail behind them. Halfway there, they unexpectedly met Hector and Stonebone, who had come to see their king. They certainly didn't expect Elena to be with him. Her story took time to tell, but Hector now knew that about 10 more Sea Tribe members were still being held captive. They had to be rescued before the giant rock tribe started torturing them. But charging in without a plan would be too dangerous. Chen spent a long time trying to calm Hector down, but then the smoke on the mountain caught his attention. It was a signal fire warning of danger on the western mountain. No one all, no matter how smart, could light a signal fire on a mountain top, so Chen was immediately on guard, and for good reason. The leader of the giant rock tribe had promised revenge when he left with his prey, and he was not likely to forget it. It seemed the giant rock tribe had arrived. But to be sure, Chen needed to check the border himself. He immediately ordered Stonebone to escort everyone else to the fortress while the warriors gathered and strengthened the defenses against any attack. Hector and Alana were sent to the western mountain to meet the patrol team and hide in ambush beside the traps until Chen arrived with support. As he sprinted back to the camp, he prayed the gods had been merciful, and the signal fire had been lit by mistake. Luckily, Lisa was outside waiting for him. She had been on edge because of the fight with the monster on the shore, unable to sit still as she imagined one disaster after another. The moment she saw he was unharmed, Lisa finally relaxed and offered to scout ahead while he rested. Chen refused. He appreciated her concern, but the signal fire still worried him. And even with the warriors by her side, she wouldn't be able to restrain Hector if he went berserk and attacked the giant rock leader. So, he chose to handle it himself, bringing him Ge, Lang Bechi, San, and Ayu, warriors who had proven themselves time and again. Lisa stayed behind to oversee the settlement's defenses and the wounded. San had recently found a hill with a clear view, so if danger came, she could move in with reinforcements. Chen didn't want more people, but Miat insisted. She had never been allowed to go before, and if she was refused, she swore she would follow. Once his orders were settled, Chen put Liu Tang in charge of protecting the queen and immediately headed west. By the time they reached the others, dusk was falling, something that could work in Chen's favor. In that dim light, the traps were much harder to spot, and so were each warrior's hidden position, but the giant rock tribe had anticipated that. They advanced slowly with torches, making no attempt to hide themselves. As if sensing the danger, their leader stopped the tribe just before the kill zone. He seemed to know Chen was there at the border waiting for them, so he called him out and to fight fairly. No one understood how he was so sure Chen was present, but no one revealed themselves. The leader then calmly revealed how he had tracked them. The area was unusually quiet. No birds, no beetles, no frogs. Only a large group nearby could scare the animals out of hiding and expose an ambush. Even then, Chen's side remained hidden, forcing the leader to switch from taunts to threats. The leader didn't like using the witch's power, but he hated this game of hide and seek more. That was enough. Chen finally stepped out of hiding, ready to face his enemy head-on. It turned out the giant rock tribe was surrounded on all sides, putting them at a clear disadvantage. Still, the leader seemed pleased the numbers on both sides were equal. Raising his obsidian blade, he eagerly challenged Chen to a duel. Glad that this time he could fight without worrying about appearances or dignity. But as Chen expected, Hector wasted no chance for revenge on the Sea Tribe and charged in the first chance he got. He didn't care about honor or rules. He shamelessly attacked from behind. They were just steps away from a brutal clash, but a giant rock warrior stopped him. Yusei threw himself in Hector's path, crashing into him with all his might. Like two stubborn rams, neither gave an inch in raw power, and both created a trail in the ground behind them. At first, Yusei seemed outmatched. He was slightly smaller, but he made up for it with much greater agility. The leader was thrilled, praised him for saving the day, and told him to have his fun with Hector. Finally, Yusei regained his footing and slammed Hector into a boulder, creating a shockwave that rippled through the ground. The force of it startled even Chen. Until then, Hector had never lost to anyone, so Chen was worried about what he was seeing. At the same time, another enemy warrior walked through one of the traps, and Au released a large log hanging from a tree by a rope. The blow was strong enough to flatten a normal man, but he pushed the log aside as if it were nothing. The second giant rock warrior had shown such absurd strength that Chen temporarily forgot about his entire trap plan. After being smashed against the rock several times, Hector started coughing up thick blood. Mu Si intended to finish him quickly. He had no intention of losing to a newcomer, but Hector dodged the next blow. He was just as stubborn, clinging to life until the very end. This time, Hector locked him in a death hug and dragged him toward the water. There, Hector had a huge advantage, and Mu Si knew it. He slammed his feet into the ground, desperate to break free, but only managed to get himself stuck. At that moment, Alina burst out of the river and attacked from behind. With Mu Si pinned, she should have been able to easily stab him from the back, but the giant rock tribe refused to let that happen. They grabbed their comrade and threw him at Alina like a cannonball, knocking her back into the water. The giant rock tribe was so brutal they would even charge into terrain that was disadvantageous for them. So, Alina had no choice but to fight the stranger in the river. And while all that chaos unfolded, two twin brothers complained to their leader. He had promised them fun, but Mu Si and Xu Hao had already started. They didn't care who they fought. And the first target they spotted was Chen, standing there watching his warriors struggle. The twins immediately charged toward him, eager to finish him as quickly as possible. But Huangshu and Lane Guqi blocked them. If they wanted the king, they would have to get through the other warriors first, which slowed down their fun a bit. The twins split their opponents between them, and swore that whoever lost would be shamed forever. Laughing like madmen, they charged into battle, ready to risk their lives just to bathe in their enemies' blood. Meanwhile, Xu Hao watched the battles unfolding around him and couldn't decide who to help. Fighting was all he knew, so to help the newcomers win, he simply went to find a weapon. He didn't have to look far. A log was right in front of him, and he casually ripped it from its rope before shouldering it, ruining the trap in the process. Armed with that huge log, he charged toward the leader, who was dueling with Chen. The leader clearly didn't like Xu Hao interfering, so he sternly ordered him to find someone else. A little disappointed, he obeyed and went to find Mu Si. But Mu Si was already being held down by Hector. Chen understood immediately that Hector and his condition couldn't survive two opponents, so he immediately moved to help him. But the giant rock leader blocked him. He swung his blade with all his might across Chen's path, forcing him back and making it clear he had to focus on him. The leader was furious that Chen kept ignoring him and acting as if he wasn't there, so he attacked again and again. Each swing of the obsidian blade aimed for Chen's neck, intending to take his head, but Chen's axe repeatedly deflected the savage blows. Growling, the leader slashed wildly, and warned Chen not to lose focus. He wanted to see his real strength and start a real fight between kings. Chen realized he wouldn't get out of this duel easily, and he couldn't do anything for Hector right now. So, he resorted to heavier measures and yelled for someone, anyone, to stop Xu Hao. At that moment, Xu Hao was dragging the log on the ground, creating a shallow trench as he closed in on Hector second by second, but still hadn't reached him. Then, suddenly, the log became too heavy to lift, forcing him to glance back, just as she had promised. Mia had joined in only after Chen gave the order. Now she was clinging to Xu Hao's weapon. In terms of pure strength, she was no match for the others, and Xu Hao quickly glanced at her, then lunged with those thick arms. He intended to grab her by the neck and pull her close, but an arrow suddenly struck his hand, only piercing the outer skin. A second arrow followed immediately, aimed straight for his face. To cover his eyes, he raised his arm, which he used as living armor against the attacks. He seemed pleased by this turn of events. Now he had two people to play with at once. Seeing that joyful look, the leader allowed the uneven fight to continue. If Xu Hao didn't mind, then he could have his fun. When they returned to the mountain, he would be alone again. Meanwhile, Sam and Yu tried to protect their allies' backs, firing at any weak spots they could find. While Chen and the others fought a bloody battle nearby, they had to do everything they could from a distance, but the bear trap Yu had used before had failed against Xu Hao. Not only did he stand firm, he even pulled her down by the rope. An enemy like that could only be dealt with by force. Still, they couldn't abandon their ambush. All they could do was hold him off while Sam ran back to the camp for reinforcements. And as Yu tried to turn the battle with whatever she had on hand, Hector kept pressing Mu Si. Mu Si fought to break free, punching Hector's back with his fists, but it had no effect. Each punch forced a deep breath of air from Hector's lungs. Unfortunately, the blows were so heavy that blood started to trickle from Hector's mouth. Still, he refused to stop, and kept pushing Mu Si toward the water. Trying to end it quickly, Hector put all his strength into it and lifted Mu Si off the ground. He sprinted for the river, eager to see how well the giant rock tribe could swim. Hector was just a few meters from victory when Alana suddenly stopped him. She begged him not to go into the water. It was too dangerous. The man who had been thrown at her earlier was still in there, attacking anything nearby. To prove it, hands suddenly clamped around her head and pulled her under. That immediately put Hector on alert, but that brief panic cost him a few more bruises. Musi kept hitting every opening, leaving red marks on Hector's gray skin. The repeated blows to the same spot caused internal bleeding. Finally, Hector collapsed. Still, even on the ground, he refused to let go of Musi. Pouring his last bit of strength into one fist, he suddenly lifted Musi and threw him over his back, trying to smash his head on the ground. The blow was devastating. Blood poured from Musi's forehead, and he was knocked out instantly. Hector was in no better shape. He fell beside him, trying to steady his vision as everything blurred. In pain, Hector left the rest to his tribe and hoped they could win. At the same time, Lang Guqi and Huangshu faced the twins. They had prepared a new trick, and were eager to test it on the giant rock tribe. To do it, they split to either side and attacked in sand. Bao Zhou's left, amused that the rookie tribe thought it could attack them. Seeing Lang Guqi fall behind Huangshu, the twins attacked him at the same time, trying to break their formation. They held nothing back, using the dirtiest attacks they could. So, in a few seconds, Lang Guqi was clutching his eyes. Huangshu wasn't about to stand by. He charged in to help. Instead of continuing to beat a blind man, he told them to find someone who could actually put up a fight. And, without hesitation, he threw his hunting axe forward and embedded it in an enemy's shoulder. Now the fight was even. Both sides had a wounded warrior. Without a weapon, he knew he couldn't handle someone with an obsidian blade, so he raised a small shield instead. That drew all the attention to him, but it was just part of the plan. Even while fighting, he was counting his steps to signal Lang Guqi when to attack. But the shield betrayed him. The enemy snuck in close and stabbed him in the stomach, just 2 steps away from the attack point. The twins had no idea why he was counting. But with only 1 step left, they finally understood. Huangshu grabbed the twin's arm with all his strength and pinned him as Lang Guqi launched the second face. A clean axe swing that should have killed the bear. So, they were certain they had won. Dao didn't understand right away. But the moment he saw Lang Guqi above, terror struck, and he fought harder to break free. That's when his brother charged in and pushed him aside, putting himself under the falling axe. The green grass slowly turned red as Xiao watched in horror. Meanwhile, Ayu did everything she could to help Mia. Xu Hao was painfully slow, so her arrows landed perfectly, but his skin was so thick he barely felt them. His arms looked like the back of a porcupine, though the arrows were only embedded a few centimeters. This couldn't go on. Mia was struggling just to stay on her feet while the log swung in every direction. So, Ayu had to find another way. Luckily, the rope that had been used before to snatch away the log was nearby. Ayu knew Mia would get the hint, so she started firing arrows toward it. Everyone in the tribe knew she never missed in battle, so Mia immediately ran for the rope. At that moment, Xu Hao got uneasy as the resistance vanished, and thought they didn't want to play anymore. But that thought didn't last long. Mia played along as if entertaining a giant child, following him from behind while she looped his legs into a tight knot. For a while, he enjoyed watching her circle around, but then his head hit the ground and brought him back to reality. Mia had put everything into taking him down in one move, and she celebrated her victory. Many warriors had decided their battles, but not Hector. He had just managed to catch his breath when Musi got back up, admitting he had underestimated Hector, who had nearly killed him. Musi still refused to give up. Then, something happened that no seer could have predicted. The giant log Xu Hao had been swinging flew straight into Musi's head, knocking him back to the Valley of Dreams. At that moment, Hector was willing to admit his brother Fang had been right about his luck. But the battle wasn't over. The leaders continued to fight for their tribes. Again and again, they pushed each other back. The struggle lasted so long that both their arms started to go numb. Shen knew he couldn't take another blow, though his enemy was in no better shape. Seeing the giant rock leader falter, the witch's servant brought him red leaves. By her order, he had to use this herb, even if he hated winning that way. If he burned them, the leader could return home safely, while the servant would hide from the smoke in the water and stand guard. The witch had warned of the consequences, so the servant urged him to choose wisely and avoid defeat. Shen understood immediately. He was about to give up his restraint, boost his body with red ginseng, and use his Panga power to face the giant rock tribe as an equal. The red ginseng would have been a huge advantage against the newcomers. Still, the giant rock leader hesitated to use it. The witch had probably read his character, which was why she had told the servant to bring this herb for any crisis. Still, no one was in a hurry to burn it. Shen couldn't let that chance slip away. He swung his axe with all his might, creating a shockwave strong enough to knock over a few trees behind the leader. The servant survived only because he barely noticed the blow in time and jumped away. When he felt Chen's eyes on him, he knew he couldn't hesitate any longer. If the leader wouldn't burn the ginseng himself, then he would. Grabbing a torch, he snatched the leaves he had dropped in fear and moved them toward the flame, already imagining how the battle would end. But the leader stopped him. With one slash, he cut the stick and extinguished the flame, fully aware this might anger the witch. When the servant demanded an explanation, the leader said he didn't believe him. The witch probably hadn't given such an order, so he told the servant to go back and deliver his message. Clenching the leaves in a rage, the servant could hardly believe the insult. The path back to the witch wasn't long, he warned, so the leader should expect punishment. Chen watched the whole exchange in silence, even as his destructive power continued to grow despite the long battle. In reality, he was barely standing. After fighting the ichthyosaur, he hadn't had time to recover before rushing to the borer. And now, even his Pangu power was nearly depleted. His vision swam. Chen knew he couldn't keep this up much longer. He would be lucky to land one more blow. And after that, he would surely pass out. The soldiers were in no better shape. Their strength was long gone, and they could no longer properly support their king. All Chen could do was trust his own strength, and pray the next blow would hit its mark. If it didn't, the giant rock leader could wipe out the entire settlement with ease. Still, that wasn't Chen's only concern. If the leader had burned the ginseng, victory would have been certain. But instead, he argued with his servant and threw the leaves away. It looked so absurd, almost surreal, and no matter how much Chen thought about it, he couldn't find an answer. It was better to use his fists than to waste energy thinking. As long as he had any strength left, he had to seize the opportunity and finish the leader quickly. Again and again, he attacked, trying to take the man down. But the leader kept resisting and keeping up with his pace. The leader seemed thrilled to face such a strong warrior and provoked him to reveal everything he had left. Only after they were both exhausted did he finally notice Chen's wounded arm. Certainly, he hadn't caused those wounds. The leader guessed Chen had performed some kind of sacrificial ritual to gain his power. That made the duel all the more exciting. But everyone knew it couldn't last much longer. The leader was also near his limit. The divine power granted by the witch was fading. Unable to dodge the next blow, he chose to move first and attack. He wanted the outcome to be settled fairly and promised that if Chen lost, he would spare the small tribe. It was an honest, noble offer, and Chen appreciated it. But he didn't need pity. With a savage cry, the two completely opposite forces clashed through their weapons, causing an explosion so intense it left a crater where they stood. At that moment, no one could guess how the fight would end. So, they simply waited for the dust to settle and for some miracle to appear. Only then did the warriors notice the hole in the rock where the bloody leader of the giant rock tribe had fallen. No one had the strength left to speak, but they all understood the same thing. The newcomer tribe had reclaimed its land. Just then, the ropes binding Chen's arm broke, and an unbearable wave of pain ripped through him. If it had happened a moment sooner, he probably wouldn't have beaten his opponent. The Pangu power had helped him immensely in battle, but using it came with consequences unlike anything before. Finally, his legs finally gave out, and he fell into a Yu, who refused to let her king fall after his victory. At the same time, they heard the queen calling for help in case the witch's servant returned. Chen's strength was fading, and he could no longer lead the army. So, he gave Lisa full command. Just before he passed out, he remembered Alana, who had fainted in the water, and ordered Yu to save her at all costs. For the entire time Chen was unconscious, the people assigned to care for him before tended to him. In his absence, Lisa had brilliantly managed the tribe and only returned to their shared home at night to see him. But when Chen woke up today, he found her half-dressed, so he pretended to still be asleep. He didn't want to embarrass her by looking. But when she sat on his bed, he almost lost control. She traced her fingers over him for a long time, studying any reaction, and when she had had enough, she calmly told him she knew he was awake. Lisa had no intention of waking him properly. She wanted to tease him a bit, which only made Chen more flustered. He immediately opened his eyes and tried to change the subject, pretending he was just worried about the tribe. Unfortunately, not even mentioning Alana could stop Lisa, as she leaned closer to his face. As she said, this was not the time for such questions. Teasing him, she guessed he could barely move and threatened to test exactly what he could do in that state. To be honest, Chen had imagined a moment like this for a long time, just not like this. He had pictured himself giving his all and proving his stamina to everyone, but Lisa's stubbornness had completely ruined that fantasy. In the end, He accepted that she would be in control, shattering his image of a fearless king. Then, the system delivered a devastating surprise. A mission called 7 times a night based on the idea that a leader must be the strongest in every way. Worse, one of those 7 rounds had to last at least an hour, with 5 gold ingots offered as a reward. The prize sounded tempting, but the penalty killed any enthusiasm. If he failed, the protagonist would be forced to change his sexual orientation. Reading it again, Chen couldn't imagine completing the mission. He still hadn't recovered from the battle with the mountain leader, and his arm was ruined, so death seemed more likely than success. The conditions were so absurd they were like a boss fight where the hero chooses to commit suicide before the final blow. After thinking, he realized the system had given him a choice. So, he decided to ignore the mission and wait for it to disappear. What he didn't expect was that silence would be taken as consent. Screaming in rage and trying to push Lisa away, Chen cursed the system and all its ridiculous missions. This might have become the worst day of his life since he wasn't even allowed to rest. All he could do was hope someone would interrupt them or that Lisa would take pity on him and return to her duties. And then, as if fate had intervened, Shunda burst in, broke half the house, and carried Chen away. He had never been so grateful for a kidnapping, even if the system still hadn't cancelled the mission. Still, when the protagonist told the bear to stop, it acted as if it hadn't harmed him at all. Shunda carried Chen deeper into the forest, and he started to think he would soon be dinner. If he had known how it would end, he might have stayed with Lisa. Accepting his fate, he endured the pain from Shunda's teeth until it dropped him in front of a cave. He had no idea why he was being taken into the forest, or what they wanted from him. So, he carefully looked around. Then, after the bear howled, 2 cubs came out of the cave and happily greeted their mother. Until then, Chen had never imagined Shunda was female, so he was shocked to learn it was also raising cubs. At the same time, the system sent a new mission. Under their mother's influence, the 2 cubs were ready to join his settlement, and he had to decide whether to accept them. He didn't hesitate for a second, and took them in, giving the settlement reliable protection for the future. In a few years, the cubs would become real warriors for the tribe. After confirming the request, he checked the population count. It had increased by 20, and the military strength was now 68 out of 98 people, while the remaining 30 belonged to the 3 man-eating bears. When the total number passed 90, the system issued a new main mission. Chen had to expand his territory to 10 square kilometers and recruit over 300 people within 6 months. It had been so long since the last main mission that he might have forgotten if not for the reminder. The reward made him genuinely happy, but that didn't matter when the mission was so difficult. Still, there was no turning back. It was time to speed up the warrior training and teach the rest of the tribe how to farm. With 3 man-eating bears by his side, Chen could worry a little less. The settlement now had solid protection. Riding with Shunda, he watched the cubs for a while, and out of boredom, decided to name them. That pleased the mother bear, who perked up her ears to hear Chen's ideas. Most of the names he considered were not fitting for future beasts that would tear enemies apart. So, he chose the best options he had. He named the brown cub Shun, and the red one Shunin. Of course, they didn't understand the words, but feeling their mother's approval, they snuggled up beside her. Anyway, the quiet days were almost over, and soon he would be busy with work again. Studying the system map, Shen was pleased to read the details on nearby tribes and begin planning an invasion. The map was incredibly useful. He hadn't even been near the western camp, but he already knew about the terrain, guard posts, and traps. In the next 2 days, Shen planned to teach some newcomers basic agriculture, then go scouting with a clear mind. But for now, he just wanted to eat. After the battle with the mountain leader, he still hadn't tasted the ichthyosaur meat, and hoped they had saved some for him. To his surprise, no one had touched the reptile without the leader's permission. The whole village knew Chen was their best cook, and had waited for him to recover. 3 days had passed like that. His rest was about to end, and the protagonist finally had to pack for a trip to the neighboring tribe. For the journey, he took one of the bears, now increasingly using it as a means of transport. Finally, Ayu and Lisa saw him off and wished him luck on his scouting trip. He left the cubs with Huang Shu, who was already taking care of the hyena cubs. He also told Lisa to keep an eye on the warriors, so they didn't kill each other with the new catapult, and he left Talana in Ayu's care. Unfortunately, she still couldn't remember all the recent events, and needed close supervision. All of that was so important, that Lisa got sick of hearing it, and hurried him out of the house. Still, he was worried about Ayu. She had planted the millet just as instructed, so the fields were fine, but she still seemed gloomy. The truth was, she didn't want him to go on the mission at all, and begged him to send her to that stupid mountain tribe instead. After hearing her, Lisa reminded her that no matter what enemy appeared, a bear would be with Chen, so worrying only made things worse. Thanks to Lisa's persistence, the protagonist left without further trouble, leaving the queen in charge. But from that moment on, Lisa became much more cautious with Ayu. The girl was too attentive to Chen. She started monitoring Ayu's brazen behavior day and night. But Lisa wasn't simple either. The moment she finished saying goodbye, she summoned her trusted spies and ordered them to follow Chen. Last time, the bear had nearly stolen her husband. So, now she intended to find out the truth and make sure he was really scouting. In any case, it was best she never found out about the secret cabin in the woods. Meanwhile, Chen suddenly started sneezing like crazy. With the cold air blowing on his bare skin, he couldn't tell where the wind was coming from and blamed his not quite healed wounds. He kept moving until he reached a steep mountain he had to go around, losing more time. While the bear found its way out, Chen studied the terrain. If he had the chance to settle on a mountain, he would do exactly what the giant rock tribe had done, using the height as a perfect defense system. There were many paths to the top, enough to send the main force to attack head-on, while another group attacked from behind. But while he was still planning his assault, the border guards spotted the giant bear and came to confront him. Trying to reassure them, Chen introduced himself and ordered them to take him to their leader. Last time, they had come with war. Now it was the hero's turn, but they refused. They let him go, claiming the leader was too busy to see anyone, otherwise they warned they would attack. So far, Chen had been polite, but these barbarians clearly had no manners. Gripping his axe, he considered whether to strike first. 10. The prisoner behind them caught his attention. He clearly remembered hearing that prisoners had to wear shackled, but these people looked different. Among the strangers, Chen recognized the former leader of the giant rock tribe and Mu Si, both carrying nothing. The sight confused him, so he sent Shundet over. The guards split to either side. Shen couldn't imagine what could have brought a leader to this, but their explanation revealed the tribe's rules. They had a witch who stripped the divine power from losers, automatically turning them into slaves. So, the former leader was no longer the leader. A stronger man had taken his place, and that was who Chen now had to deal with. As if summoned by the gods, the new leader appeared on the mountain after Chen heard the story, looking down on him with pure arrogance. He didn't even come down to defend the tribe himself, but sent soldiers to deal with the intruder. This tribe was savage and undisciplined. Still, surprisingly, they had learned to use javelins. They ran on the steep cliffs with ease,